Hey everyone, this is Adam.
And this is Rod from Tier 5. Whether you're talking about your favorite awful card or just discussing your ladder experience, Tier 5 is something for you. You're about to listen to Concede, the top of Tier 1 Hearthstone podcasts.
Greetings.
Hello.
Greetings.
My greetings.
Well met.
I greet you.
Greetings, traveler.
Greetings, friend.
The pleasure is mine.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 146 of Concede, a Hearthstone podcast dedicated to making the competitive side of the game more accessible to you. I personally can't believe we're already on episode 146, but from the Maelstrom, Louisiana, it's me, Appa, and from Gadgetzan, New York, it's RidiculousHat.
I have excellent deals.
Do you have the best deals?
Well, I don't know. But they're good deals.
You're doing a really poor auctioneer impression.
Well, okay, but I met another auctioneer this week, and we can't both have the best deals, so I don't want to speak out of turn.
All right, Hat's going to go over and be a mediocre auctioneer in the corner. From Karazhan, California, it's Botticus.
Hello. I don't have any deals this week. No deals.
What about next week? Or the week before?
How would I know what's happening next week? I don't time travel.
I mean, you're supposed to have, like, deal plans.
No plans. I don't make plans.
So I'm not
I make
sure,
plans, but
I'm not actually sure how to pronounce this, so I hope I'm not going to butcher the name. But our guest this week is from the Grim Batol. Is that right?
I think that's right.
Okay. From Grim Batol, California, we have... Oh, dropped my pen. We have Bytes. How's it going?
Hey, it's going great. I'm joining you from our workshop here. So if it's a little noisy, I apologize. If I'm sweating, I feel like I'm actually on the sun right now. So it's really hot in here and there's no AC. So I apologize if that's the case.
Well, we're happy to have you on, sweaty or not, in a workshop or wherever you may be. Before we get into our interview,
wait a minute. You're in what kind of workshop are you in?
It's like it's something that my friend owns, and it's like a workspace where there's like fabrication, there's electronics, there's programming. So it's kind of like a workshop where we can do all sorts of tools and building projects, basically. Stuff where we can fabricate and kind of demo products from start to finish.
Bytes, I didn't expect this clip to be so relevant so quickly, but I wanted you to know.
Whoa, you're the most heavy metal thing I've ever seen!
All right, I'll take it.
I'm amazed we had that ready, but here we are.
Oh my goodness. So we have a little interview to do with Bytes at the top of the show, but before we get into that, we want to thank our new patrons, Aaron B. and Scott K. Thanks so much for your support, and for anybody who is listening and would like to support us, Concede is supported in large part by you, the listener. If you'd like to find out how you can support us and receive rewards in return, head on over to patreon.com/CoinConcede. And speaking of patrons, we have our new patron tier rewards. Hat, why don't you take this? Because you did a little more of the nitty-gritty with this than I did.
So we don't want to give you every single rundown here. We posted on our Patreon what the new rewards are going to be. It's mostly the same as the old rewards. We're just streamlining a bit. We had a couple of goals that were no longer relevant, like upgrading our gear. Thanks to your generosity, we've already upgraded our gear. It's great gear. And we wanted to condense some of the benefits. There were some extra things that we were offering that weren't really relevant, like giving away early access to show notes. We do the show notes about an hour before the show, so unless you're watching us type them an hour before, it didn't seem to really be all that relevant. But we added in the $5 tier, we added in preferential entry to the Listener League. We did not touch any of the other benefits in the $1, $2, $5, or $10 tiers. So you still get your coaching sessions, still get your raw audio. We dropped the $50 tier to $25 for that producer shout out, which we will get on every single episode. And we added a new $50 tier, It's limited to 3 people, and it's a guaranteed spot on the show once per calendar year. So those are going to be put into effect at the end of this month. The pledges that will be charged at the beginning of August will apply for these new levels. And then we're also going to talk about our bonus episode a little bit later in the show, as well as our raffle.
Awesome. So yeah, head on over to patreon.com/Concede once again if you're interested in supporting or you just want to check out what we changed. So let's get into our interview with our fantastic guest here. Botticus, take it away.
So, Bytes, thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate it. This is somewhat short notice. I know we actually just met pretty recently. We met very, very briefly at BlizzCon, but then I ran into you at Oakland and we got to talking a bit more, and I was really excited to have you on the show. So for maybe some of our listeners that maybe are not super familiar with you, why don't you give a little rundown about yourself and kind of how you got into Hearthstone/Blizzard games?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I'm like a lot of people. I've been a gamer my whole life. I've been playing D&D since I was 8, and board games and video games since I was maybe 4. But yeah, I mean, Blizzard games have been there like throughout most of my gaming history. Especially got into World of Warcraft. And before being into World of Warcraft, when I was in high school, I'm dating myself a little bit, but it's when Magic the Gathering just came out, and I was super into Magic the Gathering. And so when Hearthstone came out, it was like the easiest sell ever. And I was in from, not from beta, but from the first month. I've been playing ever since, and I've never stopped. I started to, when they first announced Fireside Gatherings, right away I went to one, and it was a really cool event. But I also have a big background in event planning and hosting. I've been in touring bands in the past. I've also done pop-up restaurants. I love hosting events. So when I went to a Fireside Gathering, I really loved the community, and I thought I could do a great job of being an event host. So I started hosting my own Fireside Gatherings and putting a lot of effort into them. And that was, I don't know, over 3 years ago, I think.
Yeah, and you've actually become very well known in the Southern California scene for putting on some really great firesides. I know your name comes up a lot whenever anybody talks about any of the big firesides going on near Southern California. And I know that they're going to have some pretty new firesides coming up in a couple weeks. So what can you tell us about the pre-releases? Because I believe you're going to be putting on one of them, correct?
Yeah, I'm really excited to be hosting pre-release at Esports Arena in Santa Ana a week from Saturday. It'll be August 4th. Anything that we can do to incentivize more people to come out and experience Hearthstone in person, it's such a different experience, and the community is so cool, and they're just such nice people that I'm always hooked on that live experience. So anything that we can do to get more people to come out and experience that, I'm a huge fan of. And instantly, the amount of the reception for the pre-release parties has been off the charts. I know people are coming from Arizona. Before I was in California, I hosted events in Arizona, and I had a bunch of Fireside friends there. So they're driving out for the pre-release in California, and it's just been bombarded almost every day with people asking about the pre-release. And it's going to be a really cool event. We're not going to go as over the top as I do with some of my events with different game modes and trying to make it really unique, because I think people just want to experience the new content. So we're just going to do what we can to highlight that and to make it a really fun event for people to come and play against each other, build decks and test them out. And we'll have like a live stream going where people can kind of team up and play against other people on stage, and just to kind of highlight some matches.
That's pretty awesome. So yeah, I know you said you're not maybe going as over the top with the pre-release, but I know of a different event happening a little sooner than usual that sounds like you're kind of going over the top, which I alluded to. I talked about it a couple times last week. This is the Innkeeper's Quest, and it sounds like this is a big project you've been working on. Why don't you tell us a bit about it?
Yeah, so for people that haven't followed me in the past, I've developed this reputation of, I don't know if you want to say try hard, maybe it's just do hard. I put tons and tons of effort into my events to make them really unique and really special. probably more effort than they deserve. But like for Ungoro release, I built this working volcano that had like a table that shook, and it had like a key combination you had to press in to unlock the volcano, and smoke would go off. And then for the Lich King, I took that and I transformed it into Lich Mountain, and I actually had the Lich King's head on top of the mountain, and it would rotate and like talk to the people, and you would have to kill the Lich King by playing his game. And so I always try to take things that are in game and kind of make them a reality and make them interactive in person. And I've done these very extravagant quest logs where you have to go through and complete all these quests in order, and then you win like really cool prizes. This time for the Innkeeper's Quest, this is an event that I've had in my head for about 6 months, and I've been wanting to really pull it off and put a lot of effort into it. And finally, Thunder Gaming approached me, and they're helping me provide some of the means and the space to host this amazing event. And from the start, I wanted to do an event that's a charity event, because I feel like there's not a lot of Hearthstone events that are charitable. And it's really strange to me, because so many of the people that play Hearthstone are just some of the best people I've ever met. So it seems like a no-brainer to host an event and then take any of the proceeds that we get from the event and any donations that we receive at the event and donate them to a charity. And the charity that we're donating to is called Gamers Outreach. And if you haven't heard of the organization, it's a really cool organization. They've been around for a while, and they provide these entertainment kiosks that they build that go into hospitals, so kids and teens can play games while they recover. And they've helped, I think, over 450,000 kids and teens by building these recreational carts. So first of all, check that out. And if you can't make it to the event, like, consider donating to that charity anyway.
Yeah, so where's the event going to be held?
Yeah, so it's going to be held at Thunder Gaming Esports Center. It's in Long Beach, California, and it's going to be on July 28th from 11 to 7 p.m. And I didn't really tell you about the event, but it's so over the top. It's almost hard to believe that we're pulling it off, but it's been a lot of late nights. You can see behind me, we have a giant witchwood tree. It's 10 feet tall, and that's actually one of the centerpieces that's going to be on stage. And there's actually monitor arms. So the monitors are going to be held by the branches of the tree. And that's where we're having streamers and pro players come in from out of state or from far away to play show matches on stage at the Witchwood Tree. It's funny because I've had this idea for so long that I wanted to make this Witchwood Tree, but then like as soon as we started building it, they announced the expansion, and then for a split second we thought, can we convert this into a giant robot? But we decided that would probably be too expensive. We can do that next time. But that's just one of the things that's happening. We're having it's going to be kind of like a carnival. So there's going to be all these little mini games that are taken from Hearthstone. So for instance, we have like a knife juggler booth, which is like a dart toss game where you're tossing darts at balloons, but you actually have a board state and you're trying to go face and kill the opponent by throwing darts at the right targets on the board. We have Die Insect, which is a physical manifestation of Ragnaros' hero power. So we actually have these mechanical launchers that are shooting fireballs, and you have to aim them into these cups that are. It's kind of like a mechanical beer pong, I guess. But you have to hit the right cups, and you don't want to hit the wrong ones. And then, like behind me, right here, you can kind of see Yogg-Saron Plinko. And you just drop this puck, and Yogg-Saron bounces around, and at the bottom, it casts a random spell. And there's almost a dozen different events. We have a table flipping contest. So it's a Hearthstone board. It's all laid out. There's little mugs, and you flip the table as far as you can. We're going to have some in-game content as well. There's going to be these proving grounds, which are 4-man mini tournaments with deck building challenges. So you'll sit down to these tournaments and you have to build a deck in 10 minutes and then challenge someone else. And whoever wins those matches can move on and duel one of the influencers with their deck.
Wow.
And then we're actually building an app for this event also called Draftstone. And it's a brand new way to play Hearthstone that will eventually be released live. But in the app, basically, you and someone else select like a hero, say Warrior. and then you take turns picking warrior class cards that go to your side of the board. And when you pick them, they go into your deck, but they're banned for your opponent's deck. So you're drafting in the same class, but you have two totally different decks that you're going to use to face off against each other in this kind of class challenge.
This is you not going hard? That's what you said? I heard that earlier, right? This is you taking it easy?
No, this one is the one where he's going hard. It was the pre-release one.
Okay.
It's because I have a feeling it's because he's going as hard on this one that maybe the pre-release one didn't have as much time to plan all this stuff. But this sounds amazing. I'm really excited because I live relatively close to Long Beach, so I'm definitely going to be making it down there this weekend on Saturday to check this out. But I know that unfortunately not all of our listeners live near Southern California, so it'd be really good is there anything that maybe some other people can do to kind of help support this charity event?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So the whole thing is going to be broadcast live. It's the same day and the same weekend as Seat Story Cup. So I love Seat Story Cup, and I'm kind of bummed that it turned out that we end up scheduling on the same day. But if you're already going to be on Twitch watching Seat Story Cup, you can go ahead and tab over when you're not busy in between matches and watch the Innkeeper's Quest, which is going to be streamed on Thunder Gaming. LA is the Twitch channel. You can find all the information about the Innkeeper's Quest at our website, which is innkeepersquest.com. And the link to the broadcast will be there. If you can't make it, we're going to have a lot of opportunities to donate throughout the stream. But if you can't even watch the stream, just consider donating to our campaign for Gamers Outreach. We're really trying hard to do some good and to come together, as a Hearthstone community. And it's been amazing to have such great outpouring of support. There's a lot of streamers that couldn't make it, but we did catch them while they were at like the World Championships or at the seasonal championships. So they recorded a promo video for us. So that's Admirable and Frodan and Will Scarlet and all these the casters were really in support of the event. And they help to promote it at least. So if you can't go to the event, retweet about it. If you can't watch the event, then just go to innkeepersquest.com and click on the donate button. That'll take you to our Gamers Outreach page, and you can just donate a little bit of money towards the charity.
Awesome. This as soon as I heard about this, I just thought of how awesome it was. So I'm really happy we're able to get you on and talk about it and hopefully get a few more eyeballs on this. Even if we get a couple more people helping out, I think it's a great thing. I know another thing. So people might not know exactly your face, and that's because you do a bit of cosplay as the Innkeeper. So how did that come about? When did you start doing that, and where did you come up with the idea for that?
Well, people that host Hearthstone events are called innkeepers. And I've wanted to do a cosplay for a while for one of my events. And I couldn't think of anyone that's more of like an innkeeper than me. So I'm like, if anyone is going to do this, it's going to be me. So I went like as heavy duty as you could go. I actually found a really good costume designer, and I worked with them to get the costume right. We found someone who was on the show Face Off, and they helped make a prosthetic mask that has to be applied each time I transform into the Innkeeper. It costs $100 just to transform, and then it's destroyed after we use it one time. So I thought, let's go big, and I did it initially for one of the playoff events. I've hosted I think 8 or 9 of the Hearthstone playoff live events. I've also had the opportunity to host the Frostside Gathering at San Diego Comic-Con last year with Blizzard, which was great, and PAX East. So I've been really fortunate to have a lot of opportunities to work with Blizzard over the years on these events. So I really wanted to up my game, and I'm always trying to up it. And I thought the Innkeeper was the way to go. And so I dressed up as the Innkeeper for that event, for the Summer Championships, and then for BlizzCon. I got to meet so many cool people dressed as the Innkeeper, just walking around the tavern, saying, warm your frozen boots by the fire. And, I worked on the voice for a while. And, my favorite part of that actually, though, was being in the Innkeeper costume and then going to the bathroom and then holding the door open for people as they would walk into the bathroom. And I would be like, welcome to my inn. And it would just really freak them out.
Man, that voice is on point. That is really good. I wouldn't be surprised if you were actually just the voice actor for the Innkeeper in game.
No,
That's pretty awesome.
I can pull off like 2 or 3 like sound bites. Man, that guy is amazing. The voice actor. I try to talk in the Innkeeper voice, and it just falls apart.
Have you gotten to meet him in person?
No, I haven't yet.
Oh, okay. That'd be kind of cool. So, Hat, I think you have a couple extra questions you wanted to ask Bytes about, maybe some old timey matches that might have happened.
Oh yes. So, Bytes, you are I guess a Team Hearth League institution, or at least there was a point where that was definitely something you were doing, and I didn't get to see the majority of your time in THL because I think that was right around when you took off of doing the tournament stuff, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's always been a balance of trying. I want to play a lot of Hearthstone, but I get a lot more satisfaction out of putting on these events. So it's been a lot of balance between wanting to play in events and then wanting to host more events.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, and there's definitely clear reward in making goddamn volcanoes, and Yog Saron Plinko, which I can't believe is a sentence that has ever been said on this planet. But I want to talk about a different kind of fireworks because back in the day, you and I played a match, and I still haven't forgotten it. This was years ago, but you were the original Barnes abuser, not to get Yasharaj, not to get Obsidian Statue, to get a 1/1 Argent Horse Rider to kill a certain ridiculous hat with exact lethal. Do you remember that, Bytes?
Yeah, I think I still have that recorded somewhere. Our stream match on THL, and I cherish it. When I'm feeling sad, I'll just watch it again and smile to myself.
I understand that feeling, but I wanted to talk about you won the Hipster Award in THL that year for kind of doing your own thing. And from whenever I've observed you on ladder, well, there's kind of a saying, you never go full Bytes, but you always go full Bytes. And it's really refreshing to tune in and watch you play because you always seem to go for, I wouldn't call it memey. I don't think memey is the way to go, but fun is the kind of decks that I see. And so I wanted you to talk a little bit about your motivation behind playing these unconventional decks and what you're looking for out of them and what you get out of them.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely a Hearthstone hipster. Like, if I see one of my decks that I've been playing creep into like tier 1 or tier 2, I can't play them anymore. I feel dirty. I'm like, oh, this deck is too good. I got to play something a little bit more me. Really, it's just the one of the reasons I love Hearthstone is the RNG in it, and I love those effects that give you random cards. And anytime there's a card that gives you a random card, I always try to make it golden so I get golden versions of them. But yeah, no, even like as far as I can remember, like I always want to do something just a little bit like unconventional. When everyone was playing Secret Paladin, I was playing a deck called Sticky Paladin, which just had a bunch of sticky things and like redemption. And then I don't know, it would just like it would just annoy people, and like when they're trying to go face, they wouldn't be able to get through it. I remember one time in THL, I actually got to play against Ray C, and I played a Reno Cthulhu Rogue with Yogg, and I remember bouncing Reno back to my hand 4 times during a match against him when he was playing Zulok, and that was just the most satisfying feeling, like playing these weird decks, but playing them like seriously and just trying to win with them.
And that's, I admire your ability to play the game seriously. It's right, you're not messing around, but also to do it on your terms. It's I think right now we've gotten a lot of feedback that it's kind of a frustrating time to ladder, and I think the perspective like that of finding the fun and doing it your way is a really good message for people to hear. So I just wanted to make sure that you got the chance to talk about it because as I forget what I was watching when I tuned in. It's always something with Alex into something ridiculous, but every time I click over to your games, it's just like it's just so refreshing. So thank you for doing that. Thank you for being a person that finds the fun in the game because it's hard to do.
Yeah, this was kind of I say kind of, but this was a very inspiring like interview that we've had so far. And what I think you should do, what I think you need to do, partially for my benefit, is record yourself saying certain things like, I made a goddamn working Angora volcano for inspiration for people having a tough day. Be like, you know what? If this dude can make a literal working Ngoro volcano. I can do something awesome too. And you should record these and you should sell them and call them sound bites.
Oh man, I like that idea.
Sound bites?
I would purchase them for sure. Because some days I need a little extra kick to get going, and stuff like that would definitely give me the drive that I need.
That sounds
Yeah.
awesome. Oh man. And also, by the way, how's your ladder going? I figured I asked this too because I know you've been really busy. You were at Oakland playing. You've been doing this other thing. You can't have had that much time to ladder, right?
Yeah, honestly, I've been working on this event. Like, it's probably an unhealthy amount. Like, I for the last 3 weeks, I think I average like 4 or 5 hours of sleep a night, just because I go to a day job and then I go from my day job to the workshop here, or I'm working on graphics, and it takes a lot to pull off an event. And I always want the events to be professional, but like, I'm me. I'm not Blizzard. I don't have like huge deep pockets and the staff. So I just, use what tools I have and what friends I have. And I have great friends and support. But what it means is basically I just don't sleep, and I work really hard to kind of pull off these big events. And I spend all of my money on them too. So no, I haven't had a lot of time to ladder, but I did go to Oakland. I made sure I wanted to actually compete in an event instead of hosting one for a change. And I did pretty well. I went 6-3. I think that's a very respectable finish with such a stacked group. I got to play against Ant on stage, although we didn't get featured on the stream because our game ended a little too quick. But I won actually 3-2, so I was very happy with that. And it kind of invigorated me to maybe try a little bit harder with decks that are maybe a little bit better. I'm actually terrible. I was terrible with like Odd Paladin. People don't give that deck enough credit. It's like a really hard deck to play right, and I embarrassed myself trying to play it. Anyway, but ladder has been going good. I carved out some time this week between like 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. on 2 days, and I went from rank 4 to legend. So I just reached legend, I think last night, and I went on a 10-win streak to get there with Spell Hunter.
So let me get this straight. You hit legend in 2 days. You went 6-3 in Oakland against this pretty stacked field. You're putting on 2 amazing events, and you do an amazing Innkeeper impression and just do infinite amount of work.
That's the future.
It's awesome. I'm so glad we were able to have you on. Can you let the people know kind of where they can find more of you, and also just I know you already brought it up, but recap the Innkeeper's Quest and maybe any other events that you want to kind of shout out right now.
Sure, I'd be happy to. All the pre-release events, like if there's one near you, you should go. It's going to be something that you don't want to miss. The first time they do any of these events that are big tentpole events, you really don't want to miss it. You can find me on Twitter mainly at BytesHS. And then I also actually, if anyone wants to host events or get into hosting events, I would definitely recommend checking out the Innkeeper Discord channel. And I actually run a site also in my spare time that is a resource site for materials that other innkeepers have developed that have been useful for them, and we host it up as just a free resource for anyone that wants to get into event hosting. It helps answer any of those questions and then provide those resources that we've kind of developed over the years. So that's hsinnkeepers.com is the website for Hearthstone Innkeepers, and then the Hearthstone Discord I would recommend, and the Hearthstone Innkeeper podcast, which I'm an occasional guest on also. But the Innkeeper's Quest, again, is this Saturday, July 28th from 11 to 7. The stream is going to start at noon, and it's going to be, you can just go to innkeepersquest.com. The stream is going to be there. The button to donate for Gamers Outreach is going to be there. And it's just going to be a great event. And I've had an amazing amount of support from friends and volunteers also. So I just want to shout out to Eric and Samantha and the Rat, Brian, and to Sarah and there's so many volunteers, and I'm sorry. Definitely to Josh at Thunder Gaming. He's helping to bring this whole thing to life, and to Thunder Gaming. A definite shout out to them also. And Heatwave, Michael. If you haven't heard Heatwave, he's an up and coming caster. He's going to be casting the event on the floor, walking around, talking to all the influencers. Yeah, again, at BytesHS, innkeepersquest.com, hsinnkeepers.com, and a huge shout out to every innkeeper that's out there that's taking a lot of their free time for very little reward to put on amazing events for everyone else to go and check out. So definitely go out and support the Fireside Gathering Hearthstone community.
Wow, that's I keep saying this, but it's so awesome. I don't know if either Appa or Hat, if you have anything else you want to ask Bytes before we let him go. I know he's got to get back to. I know he's in the shop already, ready to get back to work, and said he needed to get some more stuff done. But is there anything else you guys wanted to ask him before he goes?
Wait, he's got stuff to do? I don't have anything other than to say thank you, because innkeepers like you give me hope for the future of the game in person. There is a lot of online stuff going on, but there's also a lot of really exciting developments going on with these physical events. And the physical events they're a good way to kind of bridge the gap between the community that we have on the internet and the community we have in person. So thank you for being someone that is focused so much on transforming the online game that we love into an offline experience that we can share with each other.
Yeah, I'm happy to. That's what brings me joy. So, thanks for supporting it.
Of course. Oh, I have one question for you. I'm going to ask this question right before you go. So when the other hosts are done, I have a question. All right. So Bytes. Go ahead, Appa.
I was just going to kind of follow up on what Hat said and say I started my kind of card gaming, I wouldn't say career, but that's the word I'm going to use right now because I'm blanking, with Magic. And the only reason I really got into that is because one of my friends dragged me to a pre-release, and I haven't really had an experience like that in Hearthstone. So like, if you can cultivate that kind of experience that I had in Magic with like the community and fun and all that kind of stuff with the pre-release for Hearthstone, I think that's fantastic for cultivating a better community. So I'm just like really blown away by like what you're managing to do and all of the work you're putting into everything. So like, seriously, thank you for growing the community in a positive way, because I think that's, like we say, the podcast is about bringing the competitive side of the game to more people, but I think our real goal is just fostering a better community overall, and I think that's right in line with that. So I personally definitely appreciate it, and I'm sure everybody else does too.
Thanks, guys. That's really uplifting. I really appreciate it. And, you know, like you can get stuck on Reddit and get in kind of negative headspace sometimes. But if you go into these live events, there's so many people that are so awesome. It's like literally, I've been in other game communities, but Hearthstone has the best like community of people. So, geez, I didn't even announce also that Ant is coming down for the event. The Endemic team, killing all day. Teray, Lead Paint is coming down. Rossi is coming down, and Astrogation is coming down. So all these pro players are going to be at the Innkeeper's Quest. That's like one of the big deals is you're going to be on a team with these influencers, and they're all giving their time to be there and help and be part of the community also. So I can't believe I totally forgot that very, very important point of the Innkeeper's Quest and about the community.
Wow. Just wow. Thanks for doing that. And I'm going to ask a question, just a last question for you. And I'm hoping that your answer will be nope and immediately hang up the call. The question I'm going to ask is, do you want to do a podcast?
I can't right now. Nope.
Yes. Yeah, say nope and immediately hang up. And because it's kind of a running joke that I was asking guests if they wanted to stay, and they told me to stop asking. And now Of course you want to stay. We all want you to stay, but you got shit to do.
I do have shit to do. So thank you again, guys. I'm going to head out, and I will catch up on the rest of the podcast. It's a great show, and I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say about these new cards that have been released. So I will catch up with you guys later.
Thank you so much, Bytes. Really appreciate having you on the show. All right. We are going to restart Discord real quick because that clipping noise was driving me insane. Patrons, you'll hear this. I'm sorry for that. You're getting the raw audio, and you're going to hear me doing this as well as all that clipping stuff. And other hosts, I'll be back in 10 seconds. All right. Let's see if we get that stupid clipping thing again, because it was driving me crazy the whole time.
Was it only on your end? I didn't hear any clipping.
Yeah, I didn't hear anything at all.
Yeah, it's all the audio that's coming through on my end is clipping like crazy, so I don't know if it's Discord output or my audio input. It could be either one, but we're back, and so you guys are welcome to continue the show. I'm going to go fix your cameras.
Okay. Yeah,
Very cool.
I stopped recording with push to talk because I realized that it wasn't affecting my Audacity. So.
Oh, that's why we muted the mic, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of awkward.
I
Okay.
switched over to just self-muting.
I'm gonna do the same thing.
Because I just stayed on self-muting because it was way easier than clicking the button every time.
Well, then you guys are much smarter than me. Okay. Well, I'm gonna fix your cameras. Go ahead and do a show.
All right.
All right, cool. Let's continue the show and try to be even a fraction as bit of compelling as Bytes is.
He had Yogg-Saron Plinko. I didn't know that was a sentence.
The fact that he said the phrase, I made a working Ngoro volcano, that you had to press specific buttons and then steam came out. Like, what are you doing, dude? Just run for president. Come on. I mean, I guess we continue with ladder. So, Hat, how you been doing on ladder?
Pretend you didn't ask me and ask Botticus because I'm fixing your camera.
Botticus, how you been doing on ladder, bud?
So, as I said last week, I was kind of going to take a bit of a break. So I pretty much haven't played much at all. I'm enjoying having a bit of break, and I went a whole weekend without tilting off the face of the planet, which hasn't happened in a long time. So that was nice. I don't know what August is going to look like in terms of tryharding, because I might take just a whole. I'm obviously not taking the month off because the new set's coming out, but taking a more relaxed approach to ladder and not going to necessarily be going for a high legend finish right away. We'll kind of see what happens after that, but just enjoying a bit of a relaxed feel. I mean, I was already legend, so I don't have to worry about not hitting that this month, but that's the plan for the rest of this month, at least next couple days of relaxation.
That's kind of where I'm at with ladder too. I mean, my points don't matter at all for season 2 because I think I have 3. I have like 3 points. Then they reset in August for season 3, and so my plan is to just hit legend on all 3 servers and kind of just give myself the best place to start from at the beginning of season 3. So I hit legend on NA with Odd Paladin. I was messing around with a few different decks. I know last week I said I was playing Shudderwock Shaman because I think it's really interesting and fun, and I'm bad with it and I like learning it. But at a certain point, I got tired of seeing rank 3 and rank 2 just flip back and forth on my screen constantly because I kept winning and losing and winning and losing. So it's like, I just want to climb so then I can play fun stuff and not have to worry about it. So I played Odd Paladin, and I went from 2.1 to legend without losing a game. That deck is strong. That deck is still very good.
Yeah. Yeah, that deck's
level up real good. We've done a podcast, and I haven't said I'm rank 2 or 3 on EU because I am just hard stuck there with Miracle Rogue, because I'll go on a streak against the slow decks, and then I'll just run into like 4 or 5 hunters and odd paladins in a row, and I just can't. I just can't win. So I'm just like in ladder limbo on EU, but I am having fun because it's Miracle Rogue. And on Asia, I was going to stream all this week, but then some stuff with work happened, and now I have no free time this week. So no streams rip, but I have Heal Zoo, and I streamed up to rank 20 from 25 on Tuesday. So I'm going to see if I can take that to Legend. I'm going to have to do it off stream, which stinks because I wanted to do it all on stream, but that's where we're at. I'm close to Legend on EU, and we'll see how far I can get on Asia, but trying for triple Legend this season, which is apparently me taking it easy.
Yeah, why don't you go build a volcano and a Plinko machine and also demonstrate that you're taking it easy?
Yeah.
That is all about the Plinko.
Are you not?
I mean,
mean-
I'm gonna be there, so I get to experience firsthand. So
He
I
gets
guess
to
be
be
jealous.
Plinko in person and not just like super hyped over the internet.
Well, I get to be
Anyways.
super hyped over the internet and not do it in person, which is the opposite and strictly worse.
So now that Hat's done tinkering with Discord settings, where are you on ladder?
I'm
how's it
frustrated
been
at
going?
Discord, and I'm going to stop messing with stuff even though every impulse in my body is just saying, no, fix it right now, but I can't fix it right now. But what I have been fixing is the ladder with Malygos Druid, and not just any Malygos Druid. This is the list. I don't remember whose it was. I feel like it's RDU's, where it has the one injured Blade Master and the Oaken Summons. I think that's RDU's. It's really good. Really, really good. And Littlefoot and I were doing a coaching session yesterday, and he was higher legend than me, and I was still coaching him. Like, I guess we'll hang out and play some Hearthstone, but you're probably better than me. He's like, yeah, whatever. And we went, I think, 9-1 with it. It was pretty good. So then I took it on the ladder, and I had never really clicked with Malygos Druid the way that I know Botticus had. He'd been playing a lot of it, and it turns out when you put in Oaken Summons and Tempo cards, I'm just like, oh, I just hit them, and then they die. And that's the deck, and part of it was some solid turn 4 twigs, and I learned that really twig is just like, play something big and then play another something big. You don't always have to kill them. Sometimes it's something simple, like Alexstrasza Ultimate Infestation you. And other times you kill them, but I was saving for the combo way too aggressively when really just playing 20 mana worth of stuff in a turn, it doesn't matter what the 20 mana is. It's still really good, and just keeping people around 12 life, and then suddenly they're dead, worked really, really well. So I used Branching Paths as Savage Roar more than anything, and I had just so much fun playing the deck, and I've been doing pretty well with it. I've climbed over 1,000 ranks out of whatever it is we're calling low legend right now. I'm hovering in the, I think, a little bit above 1,500, but not a lot. And I don't intend on making a push because that was awful, but I do intend on playing Hearthstone because I like Hearthstone, and it's really just getting ready for Boomsday. Played a little bit of Wild Odd Rogue on ladder, and it was okay. It didn't really change my opinion on Wild, but I do enjoy a good Odd Rogue, and Dark Iron Skulker is a card that I wish I had in Standard. Oh my lord, that card is so good.
yeah, that card seems pretty busted.
Well,
I played that card in prelims when I went to prelims, and I played it against Firebat, and he messaged me during the game, and he was like, "You play this card?" It's like, "Yeah, put your board in the trash can."
and what there is a lot more of now that there wasn't back then is a lot more Odd Paladins. And you know what's really, really good against Odd Paladin? 5 mana, pack up your toys and go home. We're done here.
Yeah,
It's
that card
Level
is
up our quartermaster, or
no, you
card
play
is
it going into turn 5.
Savage of blowouts.
Yeah.
That's so sweet.
It's my experience with it has been fortunate, but I was able to use that to prevent the 5 mana cards from being relevant because they could play level up or quartermaster on an empty board.
so are you playing the Malygos version with Starfire?
No
Starfall.
Starfire. There's 2 Ironwood Golems, an Injured Blade Master, and double Oaken Summons. There's no Starfire, no Faceless. It's
What about Starfall?
nope.
Interesting.
but
I
do
know
you have a
Firebat
Nifla?
was talking about that.
It's similar to his list. I remember him seeing it. I think it was RDU that put the injured Blade Master, and I know Zamos, who's finally on Twitter after hitting rank 1 legend and holding it 3 seasons in a row, is all about the Starfire, Starfall, 1 faceless list. And that list is very, very good, but the one I've had more success with is definitely the more minion-oriented one.
Yeah, I really don't like the Starfire, but I really love the Starfall and the Faceless. So, I mean, that would be the list I was playing, but even the non-Oaken Summons list, there are matchups where you play it as a tempo beatdown deck. So, I guess I should have told you earlier, and I'm sorry.
Well, like, I had heard that before, but it takes a little while sometimes, especially with these decks, to understand it and execute them. They're not always the same. Oh, I found it. It's Theo's list. Theo is the one I'm playing his exact list, and it doesn't have any of the cutesy stuff at all. None of the spells. Just the 1 Blade Master, the two Ironwood Golems. Do you play Lich King in yours?
Yeah. Lich King is kind of another out to Faceless on a 10-mana turn if you're not going to be able to kill him with Malagos.
Yeah, so this list doesn't have the faces, which I think would be nice, but otherwise it plays all the core Druid cards and just has the summons package instead of the spell package. And it's been pretty effective for me so far. You're usually able to out-Druid all the aggro decks by playing Druid cards, and you're usually able to tempo down a lot of the slower decks like Shutterwalk and sometimes even Warlock, because Naturalize is a really good card. The worst matchup I've found so far has been Zoo.
Yeah. All right. So hear me out. Okay. Have we thought about taking this stupid Blade Master out and putting in your Lord and Savior King Mukla?
I haven't thought about it until right now, and
I mean, it's still real good off Oaken Summons, and like it's better on its own, right?
Do I have to do this now?
I'm not super excited about the Blade Master. Can we just play something like a Violet Illusionist? Would be better than that, right?
Violet Teacher?
There's no Illusionist. The 4/3 that you're immune, unless that rotated.
It did.
Okay.
So
I'm sure there's got to be another 4/3 with a side benefit that we could play.
5/5.
I am tempted, as I have been tempted before, by the Mukla.
Look, all I gotta say is Burst Druid spoke to me. Okay.
Listen, the silent song of that big ape will continue to seduce me.
With that being said, we have gone full. We've gone full Bytes right now.
I would say, don't bring him into this. I would say, Appa, you're just talking bananas.
The silence, I love it.
Just the refusal. Okay, so here's the news for this week. I'm going to go real quickly because we want to talk a lot about new cards. The first item we have here was a video that came out the day after we recorded last week, which is the Hearthside chat with Peter Whalen. Peter Whalen, called "Welcome to Boom Labs." Basically goes into kind of how the Boomsday concept got started and had a couple bits of interesting information in there. For instance, each class kind of represents a different branch of science. Each lab is what they call it. And the ones they mentioned specifically in there were mage is equivalent to astronomers, shamans or meteorologists. Warlocks are soul researchers, druids are biologists, and then they kind of hinted at some of the other classes like paladin being kind of mechanics, dealing a lot with mechs. Hunters, I got this from another video, but they deal with explosives. And then I know rogues are doing poisons / alchemy, and priests are doing cloning. So those are kind of the different branches. Really cool video. Got to see a couple new cards in there, which we'll talk about later. Were you able to check this video out?
Yes, I've been staying pretty in tune with the Hearthstone video content, and they've been doing a lot of good stuff so far. I think they've had these conversation videos coming out every couple of days, along with we'll get to it a little bit later, the Boom Labs videos, which I really, really like because raunchy animation is amazing. Yeah, I think Peter Whalen did a really good job of explaining kind of the feel of the set, and it's clear that they're not just starting with pick a character and build something around them. It seems almost like motif-driven of death or science or dungeons or like basically pick one word and a concept around that and build off of that. So I wonder how long they're going to be able to keep that going because they've done a pretty good job of capturing the feel of science so far, and we've only seen like a third of the set.
Yeah, I really like how they approach these sets with the feel, or with getting a feel of what is the set supposed to feel like, and directing it from there, and really trying to get as much feel into the set, so when you're playing with the cards you can really feel like you're part of the story or whatever they have going on in the set. So the next item on here is Developer Insights 12.0 Game Mechanic Update. This is going to be another update they're coming out with some more minion adjustments. The last one went over pretty well, so they're going to do a few more things to kind of keep everything in line. The first item here is that Ghostly Charger will no longer be a beast. This is kind of in line with Spectral... Oh, no, Witchwood Grizzly. Except that I guess Witchwood Grizzly remained a beast, and then this one's becoming not a beast because it's spectral. Either way. And then Ixalid Fungal Lord is no longer going to be an elemental, so thankfully I don't have to worry about shamans getting this off of the spell that gives them a random elemental. And I'm really mad because now I can't play Elemental Druid anymore, as if that was a thing. Then the following cards are not going to be changed, but they considered changing them. Kindly Grandmother is going to stay a beast, and the justification why it could have gotten a change is because it kind of looks like a Worgen, but based on how the concept of the card or how the card is being used, they wanted to keep it a beast to maintain how it works in the hunter class. And then the reasons given for Arcane Giant and Arcane Golem, why those didn't become elementals like some of the other giants. There's an explanation in there kind of about constructs and how that works. And then Bog Shaper not becoming a non-elemental is largely due to play reasons and how it works in the shaman. In some of the shaman decks, they want to maintain the ability to use it how it was intended to be used. So, but they are accepting feedback on stuff like this. So if you feel strongly about how any of these cards should be changed, or if any of them should be changed, if they should keep them the same, you can at them on Twitter or just talk about it in forums and stuff like that. That really look like they're trying to get feedback from the community because they want the game to be largely community based. The other thing about 12.0 will be lots of changes in the way that cards are going to retain/lose enchantments. So the breakdown is, if a card is going from your deck to your hand into play, or your deck into play, it's going to keep any enchantments. So this involves Keliseth buffs. If you're stealing cards from your opponent's hand or your opponent's deck and they have enchantments on them, then it's going to maintain them. However, conversely, if they're going from play back into your hand, from your hand into your deck, from play into your deck, unless it specifically says something, or from your play/hand/deck into your graveyard, or from your graveyard into your play hand/deck, then it's going to lose enchantments. So if anything gets sapped or vanished or things like that, it's going to function as normal. Transform cards are now going to lose enchantments whenever they transform. So if you ever got that 0 mana mage spell off of Primordial Glyph, then it's no longer, as soon as it transforms, it's no longer going to have the discount. Same with Shifter Xeris and stuff like that. And then lastly, Shadow Boxer combo was removed because it seems like it would have been pretty good with the printing of Ziliax. Now you have a guaranteed way to add lifesteal to the minion, and that seems like it could have caused issues, so they just removed it since that wasn't really their intention when they initially came out with the card. Appa, I know this is a lot of changes. Anything specific you really like that they're doing, or just in general, how do you feel about these?
I'm in the process of writing a strongly worded letter about why Ghostly Charger should have been a beast, because I like my Paladin beast decks. I'm very clearly
Really?
joking. I think all these changes make sense, and the decisions behind not changing some of the cards make sense. So I don't know. I am always one for more transparency whenever they make these kind of decisions. So I enjoy this article a lot, and I hope they keep doing stuff like this.
Great. So the next item we have here was a comic that came out with. It's a Hearthstone digital comic called Dr. Boom Lowering the Boom. I got to breeze through this real quickly before the show. It was really well drawn. I don't usually look at a lot of comics, but I was really happy to read through this and check it out. It's kind of about how Boom is planning to become extremely powerful, and he goes to all the different labs. This was actually where I got some of the ideas for kind of how they are, how they approach all of the different sections, what all of the different classes represent in Dr. Boom's lab. So if you want, go check it out. I don't know, Hat, were you able to check out this comic, or have you not had an opportunity to yet?
You know, I skimmed through it. I actually really enjoyed the comics. The last one I liked a lot was the Knights of the Frozen Throne one, which I think was actually a year ago now. And I remember that one being just a really interesting explanation of how all these people became Death Knights, even though it was clearly a story, and the person telling the story is like, I made this up, and I was like, keep telling it. And this was... What they're doing with Dr. Boom in this expansion is really, really fun, and I noticed as well in the Enter Boom Labs video that they're having him keep doing the looking down the nose pose, and just it's kind of this fun but silly, mad science feel. I really like the direction they're going with it. So I skimmed through this comic. I didn't read it super in depth, but I enjoyed what I saw of it, and I think it's pretty high quality. I agree.
Great. So the next item we have here is the Boomsday Project Lab Logs Part 2. This is just an extension of what I talked about last week. Basically more lore behind the Boomsday Project. So if you're interested in that kind of stuff, make sure to check it out. I love that this also helps feed Lore Master Eve. I feel like we talk about her almost every week or every other week, but her lore segments are great, and this just gives her more information to be able to dig stuff up about this. They finally came out with a pro team standings update, and we have a link to it in the show notes so you can see where all the teams land. Currently, F2K is in the lead. They have Boar Control, Fino, and Glazer all crushing it right now. I was actually talking to Glazer at Oakland after he crushed me, and they were a little bit worried because Tempo Storm is also doing extremely well. They are obviously the ones in second, but I think it's going to be a really close race, and it really depends on it. Some of it depends on how this month ends up, so we'll kind of see how the race keeps going. And in third place is a team called Nordivine. And I was going to look up this team real quick.
I believe that's the team that Hunter Ace is on. I think that's...
Oh, that would make a lot of sense.
Players.
Surprise! Hunter Ace is good!
Yeah, there's a lot of Northern European players on that team who are very good. But I'm pretty sure that's the one Hunter Ace is on. Let me actually check Twitter real quick just to make sure I'm not misinforming people.
Okay, well, while you do that, I'll briefly talk about the off-meta report. I bring this up every time they have a post here just because it's kind of cool that Play Hearthstone is putting out some alternate decks in a format where we already have infinite amount of decks. The 3 decks they posted this week are a Control Paladin list, a Quest Priest that features Arthas, which makes me think I know Kibler was talking about a list like this that he played to Legend. I believe it was this month. And then the last list is a Zoo Cube Warlock list. I believe this was we talked about this at Oakland, right, Hat? I think this was featured at Oakland
Yeah,
at some point.
Yoich Flow was playing it qualified for HCT Germany, I think. And then Yoich Flow played against Edelweiss on camera, where it's a Skull Cube Zoo. And it does what you think a Skull Cube Zoo would do, which is be a zoo deck and sometimes does grow stuff with Cube because it's Cube. So it's out there, and I wouldn't recommend playing it in the ladder, but it has had some success. So Yoaslo didn't top 8, but he did pretty reasonably at that tournament, and a different player, I forget his name, but he did qualify for HCT Germany with it.
So I have a follow-up for the Nordabin team. It's Hunter Ace Yarl K, I believe. It's the 3-letter name that person chose. So 2 very well-known and very good players, and then the other one I don't know very well, but I mean, if he's on the team with those 2, I'm sure he's a fantastic player. So yeah, that is the 3rd place team in the pro team standings currently.
Yeah, so check out the team standings, check out these off-meta decks if you're looking for something else to play, if any of that sounds interesting. That Zoo Cube Warlock deck sounds pretty interesting. I might check it out at some point. But the next part is Boom Labs Part 3. This is that video series Hat was talking about earlier. This is the finale. This is the last one of them. So Hat, why don't you tell us a little bit more about these films and why you like them so much?
Well, so Raunchy Animation has been around for a while. It's WRONCHI. We've mentioned him a couple times in the past. He's a one-person project one-person animator that's been contracted by Blizzard to make some cool videos. He made the first one that I remember him making was Thrall versus Rexar, back when it was the Aggro Shaman versus Face Hunter meta, and it was just memeing about the different effects, along with funny sound effects and cuts of voice effects to make a really entertaining cartoon. And he's a very talented animator. So this is the continuing tale of Levi the intern and Peter Whalen the chicken designer and Dr. Boom and being trapped in Boom Labs. And there's lots of sight gags, there's lots of little gags here, and it's really just a cartoon. Reminds me a lot of old Tom and Jerry cartoons of just the slapstick humor, and it was really fun to watch. I would definitely check it out, and this one ends up being, I think it's the last one they're going to do, and there's also a card reveal in there that we'll talk about.
Yep, I really enjoyed this video. I liked all 3 of the videos. I thought they were really well done. The next video on here is the Watch Well Played Souls Memorable Moments. And I thought it was a pretty good video. They were kind of trying to show some really big moments that happened at HCT Seoul, which was a while ago. But these were the 2 extremely memorable moments. I thought the first one was great because it was when Sam burned the Shutter Walk from his opponent that was quite visibly upset. And I like that. I like them showing this one mainly because it was a decision he had to make, and decisions on kind of rough decisions on both sides ended up really hurting his opponent. But then the second one was just, they were trying to talk about the skill of saying death gripping the Hadronox because he was hand tracking, but I thought it was just funny because he got death grip off of Lich King and he played it and it got Hadronox, and I don't know how well played that was, but it was definitely a memorable moment, and I know we talked about it after that tournament. But I thought it was just kind of funny that they put this video out there. The next 2 articles I have were the last 2 for mid-game week, where they're talking about things to think about in the mid-game. The first one is when the plan falls apart, and this was an article where they kind of interviewed AKA Wonder about how to reevaluate after what you're planning on doing falls apart and try to eke out some percentage in a game you're likely losing if your plan's falling apart. And then the other article is playing to your outs with Dr. Jikaninki. Both of these articles I really like as I said last week when they had the other 3 of them, I really like being able to reinforce good high-level play. This is kind of what our podcast is about, just making the competitive side more accessible to people, and talking to these pros, getting their names out there, I think is just really good. Did either of you two want to talk about any of these last 3 items I went over before we move on to the tournament section?
Not really something I want to talk about, but I mean, if you're listening to the podcast trying to game, like even if you're a really good player already, even if you're a legend player, even if you're a high legend player, these are good resources to look at, because there might be something that you're either missing or not thinking about or not doing as well as you should. They're just good articles to review or learn something you didn't know before. So I would recommend pretty much anybody listening check them out. They're short, they're sweet, they're not very long reads at all, and they give good information. So
Great. Well, that's all I have for the news this week. I really want to get into card reviews, so tried to get through it quickly. Hat, let's go into tournaments.
It's the grand tournament!
So we've got actually a couple tournaments to talk about, but this is going to be a little bit of an unusual tournament section because we've got ourselves a couple of unusual tournaments. We've got the Global Games, and then the ESL Premiership just started. No major events. I mean, the Global Games are a major. The ESL Premiership is a more local tournament. We'll talk about it in a second. But the HGG, the Global Games, they're going to go for 4 months. And it's a weird format. Standard format, but each team of 4 players, which you may have gotten a pack for already. You should have gotten a pack for already if you chose your champion and helped select who was going to be on your country's teams. There's 48 teams, 48 countries. It's a round of 48 with 6 rounds that will play out to cut to the top 16. And the format is interesting. There's 2 simultaneous picks and bans going on it's not in secret, but it's not public. How do I say this? Both teams are doing this at the same time through a third-party admin, where you build deck lists for all 9 classes, not just the classes, but the deck lists. Then both teams go pick, ban, pick, ban, pick, ban. One at a time, simultaneously. The admin reveals what the other team did, and both teams end up with 5 classes based on what they got banned and what they choose to pick and protect. Then, all 4 of their team members each get 2 of the classes, and they have to choose the order in which these decks are played. And you only get to play each deck once. So your 5 classes, you're playing 5 games with those 5 different classes. If you have Hunter, Mage, Warlock, Warrior, and Priest, you're playing 1 game of each. Each player on your team has to go at least once, and then the 5th deck is a repeat of the player, but a different deck. Know it sounds a little confusing. I think it is a little confusing. But basically, the 5 classes you picked, you get 1 game with each of them. You choose which game it is. You don't know what it's against. It doesn't matter what won or lost. You're playing 5 different classes every single round, with 4 different players piloting between the 5 classes. So the format's been a little, how do I say this, maligned by pro players because it doesn't really have as much flexibility based on what your opponent is doing. You're picking the order that you're going to play your decks before you start the match. So it's fixed order. There's open deck lists, but the open deck list only matters in the game because you're not choosing what plays against what else. I don't have a better word than weird. And so I'm not going to go over the tournament meta for this because this format, does not translate to anything else. Does not translate to regular tournaments, does not translate to ladder. It's just bizarre. Still fun to watch. I don't know how competitive it is compared to Conquest, but it's definitely different. So you'll see a wide variety of decks as we play it out. The current standings, we only have 1 round in the book so far. The second round is ongoing as we speak. The last games this round are in a couple days on Friday. And Peru and Singapore are 3-0 in games, actually both over Argentina and Denmark, which are both great teams. It's kind of interesting to see that Peru and Singapore, lesser-known teams, triumphed over some real behemoths of teams. And then there's some surprising wins, surprising losses. we've got some smaller teams that were able to eke out victories. Some larger teams in particular, I think Austria, Canada, the US, Japan, and Russia all stand out to me as teams that I would have expected to advance in the first round but didn't. Narrow losses, same with the United Kingdom, and same with Norway and the Netherlands. But we're actually going to talk about the Netherlands as one of our games to watch. Before we go any further, let's make sure we talk about the ESL Premiership a little bit. This is a local UK tournament where there's 8 people that were qualified from last season's ESL Premiership and 8 people that went through an open qualifier circuit. So it's 16 players. Interesting mix of personalities. We've got some names. Board Control is in it. John Bray is in it. Falcone, the caster, is actually playing in it. And Toast Monster is playing in it, along with a few other people that you may or may not know. Dead Draw is in there. Duncan is in there. People that have seen some success and been signed on some level of teams. So that tournament as well, it's a standard Conquest and Ban format, but it's definitely a little bit less visible. It was on the Hearthstone Tournament's YouTube page, so there are some VODs up there. We're not going to go over any particular games to watch there, and again, it's an ongoing tournament for another month, so I don't have any deck list to share with you right now, but we'll touch back on it as the tournament continues. The match I want to touch on that you should watch is Germany versus the Netherlands. And you know what? This is really a great match to watch because these two teams are crazy powerful. Germany has Psycho, Viper, Sintalal, and Bunny Hopper. Crazy group. Netherlands have Tyler, Mitsuhide, Theo, and Tice. So these two teams are just these kind of titanic battles, and every single game was really entertaining to watch here. I'm not going to go into every game. Tice's win in the first game was a skillful setup for a potential for a high roll that may or may not have panned out. Game 2 was kind of the Corridor Creeper's return in this Odd Paladin mirror match, which shows how both skill-intensive and draw-intensive the game can be. But Game 3 is the one I want to talk about. Theo from the Netherlands is playing Mind Blast Priest, while Viper is playing Cube Hunter with some Devilsaur Eggs. Now, I would normally think the Cube Hunter would be advantaged just in terms of how quickly he can get out of the gate. But you can tell that Theo has played this matchup a lot, because an early Acidic Swamp Ooze comes down on an empty board, and Viper coins out a Devilsaur Egg, and Theo immediately pops it. Says, I'm not going to let you make the 5/5s. I'm going to give you 1 so you don't get 3 or 4 5/5s out of this egg. Turn 2, another egg comes down. Theo pops it again, and he uses a Scale Worm to trade off and make sure the board stays nice and clear. It's interesting to see that you'd normally think leave the eggs there until you can deal with them in a big bunch, but no, the correct play here is pop them and deal with them one at a time on the terms of the priest, because there's enough removal spells in the early game to clear out these 5/5s. And eggs that continue making 5/5s are way more dangerous, especially if you go Dustbreaker and they get their 5/5s afterward instead of before. So the board state gets suddenly even, and then Theo starts to do what Priest is best at, which is absolutely nothing. Hero Power Pass. And by Hero Power Pass, I mean Hero Power the opponent, because both players are at 30. So whatever. The hands are very awkward. Viper actually has to Carnivorous Cube a Leok, but Hunter is able to amass pressure pretty quickly, and even though Mass Dispel comes down on the cube with the Leok trapped inside, a Firefly and a Prince Keleseth later, 7 damage a turn over a couple turns, Theo needs to start thinking about it. But he's got the Psychic Scream, clear the board, Dustbreaker, clear the board again next turn with the Twilight Drake, and Theo may finally be starting to stabilize even though he's in a low life total. He's around 14 at this point. Viper has so little he has to cube a Firefly, and then Primordial Drake comes down and kills the Fireflies. Seems like the door's shut. But no! Viper has Houndmaster Shaw in play, King Crush in hand, and while Theo has a Twilight Acolyte into Cabal Shadow Priest, he doesn't have a dragon. So that King Crush ends up coming down, and that hits for 8. And that hits for 8 again. Finally, Shadow Reaper Anduin comes down, clears it off. The Death Knight clears the King. Psychic Scream follows for the Priest, and it seems like Theo's going to take it home until Viper top decks Deathstalker Rexar right off the top, and immediately rolls a 7/7 Stealth Direwolf Alpha grafted on the back of a Stranglethorn Tiger. Magnetic, eat your heart out. And by the way, he happens to have a Candle Shot equipped, along with the 7/7 Stealth, and Theo's at 8, with Shadow Reaper Anduin. That Stealth Zombies comes down. Theo has 17 damage in hand, and Vipers at 20. But that's not enough. In the top deck of the Deathstalker Rexar, one roll off the Beast tap, off the Build-A-Beast, was enough in this very hard battle where the Priest came so close to stabilization, but couldn't beat a little wolf with a tiger strapped to its back. So definitely worth checking out. Game 4 is a great watch too. That was Bunny Hopper and he also took the game from behind in a really spectacular fashion. It was really, really fun to watch. Would definitely recommend checking it out. And next week, we've got some really fun tournaments coming up, some bigger tournaments, HCT Tokyo, and like Bytes talked about, Seat Story Cup. Seat Story Cup is one of the most fun tournaments to watch all year because it's such a laid-back atmosphere, and you can really tell the players are enjoying being there. Every player will take a turn in the casting bench. They have no problem joking and yelling at each other and arguing over plays because they're all commenting on each other, and it's a really fun environment. And
yeah, that's the one I'm looking forward. I'm obviously not going to be able to watch a lot of Seat Story on Saturday, but I'm really looking forward to Sunday's coverage.
Man, either of you guys watch any of the global games?
I have not caught really much of the global games at all, unfortunately. I would like to catch more of it, if nothing else, just because the format's so weird and different, and I want to see it. But yeah, I think most of my coverage has actually come from listening to you talk about the tournament section each week. So yeah, I need to catch up on some more global game stuff because I think there are some really strong teams that I'd like to see.
Yeah, there's a lot of good teams and good strategies coming out of it as well. This was the same tournament last year where Mexico was kind of the darling of the tournament for bringing Ysera Hunter. And I expect to see some more funky stuff this year because with the format being as strange as it is, I think you can get away with decks that are a little bit different. And that's all I've got. So, what say we go talk about... Well, before we get into the new cards, we have a raffle to do, don't we?
We do.
We do.
Rock is dead.
Alright, so I am bringing up random.org now, and I'm bringing up our list of patrons. And for those of you that don't know, if you are a patron, and you pledge $5 or more, the last podcast of every month, you are eligible for a raffle for a $20 BNet gift card or BNet balance in whatever country you may happen to be in. And I've got a list right here. And I'm going to pause for a minute and stall while I make a numbered list of all of our patrons. This is stalling. You guys can talk if you want.
Oh, are we supposed to stall?
No one will ever hear this, but the live viewers can see you and hear you, so feel free to be entertaining. Give me one moment.
Yeah.
Botticus and I were just making stupid faces at each other.
I love making faces. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. So Hat, the Germany versus Netherlands game, would you say the Netherlands team was Titanic?
No.
Anything? No.
No, I wouldn't say that.
I don't get it.
Yeah. That's much like the Titanic, that joke did not go over well.
I thought you were gonna say that joke sank.
Yeah. It's very similar.
Oh, human tragedy.
It's
Funny later on.
I think it's been long enough. I don't know if there's a statute of limitations here. I don't mean to make light of a tragedy, but this was about 100 years ago. Like approximately 100 years ago, right?
It was a metric minute ago. I think.
Why you got to talk about?
We're making fun of the movie, right? You're allowed to make fun of the movie, but not of the incident, right?
Yeah, because the movie's fake. Didn't happen.
Yeah, exactly.
No, they made a movie. That was real.
Which movie are we talking about?
We're talking about Titanic 2, The Boatening.
Have y'all ever seen the Italian animated Titanic movie?
The what?
It is a treat. It is some kind of nonsense.
I was unaware that this was a thing.
Yep, they have multiple animated Titanic movies, and the one that was made by an Italian company is on some other shit.
Okay, well, as fun as this has been, we have a list of our patrons. We have a die roll ready. Gentlemen, the drum roll. And the winner is Matt Jans. Congratulations, Matt Jans. Hooray! So, Matt Jans, you were the winner of $20 BNet balance. We'll get that to you after the show. Thank you so much for being a patron. And thank you so much to the live listeners for still being on this channel, I hope. And patrons that get the raw audio, this is a treat that we made this for you. Remember that. All right. Explanations?
All right, the explanations this week is going to be surprise new cards again, and it's going to continue to be new cards until there's no more new cards. And the first new card is Super Collider. And Super Collider is a warrior weapon. It's a 5-mana epic, and it has 1 attack and 3 durability. And it says after you attack a minion, force it to attack one of its neighbors. And the example they used on the reveal stream was attacking a mountain giant, face tanking 8, and forcing it to slam into the neighbor mountain giant, which is obviously the dream scenario. The dream here is taking 8 to the face to kill a thing. Or to kill 2 things.
Kill 2 things.
Yeah.
It's a very powerful effect that doesn't need more than 1 durability on the weapon. Because once you use the weapon once, your opponent's just like, okay, I know how to play around that weapon, probably.
This one feels really narrow, but also really powerful. But there's also a lot of counterplay here, which I think is what kind of I can't even. I'm blanking. It makes it seem worse that there's counterplay. I was trying to think of a word for that phrase, but I'm blanking. Moving on.
I wanted to point out that I think you almost called it Stupid Collider. Like, I think you had a bit of a slip up, and I like that name a lot more.
That would have been a Freudian slip, but that would have been a fantastic one.
I will say,
the minions are just like, ugh, ow.
I will say, this is the stubborn gastropod counter that we all needed. Because this is maybe the best stubborn gastropod counter there is. You just smack that snail, and the snail smacks other stuff.
I want to introduce you to Met Crab, aka the 2-mana 1/2 Scorpion. Because that one feels awesome when you kill a snail with it.
But imagine if you super collided a snail into a giant, and just envision this giant, this huge side of a mountain lumbering down, and then someone smacks a snail, and just like sploot, and they both explode. Just think.
This is the Hearthstone universe we're living in right now.
It's just I'm thinking of the raunchy animation cartoon in my head, and I just hear this giant hammer smacks the snail just like sliding through the air, making slimy noises, and it just makes a little, and then the giant just explodes.
Is that your snail noise? I think it's more like.
It's all right. I'm not a snailologist. Let's move on.
and then it hits the mountain and it goes.
I feel really uncomfortable. We're turning into Blizzlet very quickly.
So we've already spent way too much time on this weapon that is likely not going to have an application, but do we know what happens when you attack a Doomsayer with it?
You deal 1 to the Doomsayer. The Doomsayer deals 0 to the minion next to it, and the minion next to it deals damage.
Okay. I was I wasn't sure because it doesn't attack. So
it collides. It collides. It's if we were Magic the Gathering, this would be fight.
Okay.
Think of it as basically you choose a minion to Swamp King Dread another minion.
Okay, I was just making sure. Let's go to the next card.
Yeah, I don't know if that'll ever come up.
I'm gonna try and pronounce this the best I can, but Flabidinous Floop.
Yeah, you got it. Perfect.
Awesome. Flabidinous Floop. It is a 4-mana legendary druid minion. It is a 3/4. But it says, while in your hand, this is a 3/4 copy of the last minion you played. And I know both of you have thoughts on this, and I do too, but I'm sure my thoughts are also partly both of your thoughts, so I'm going to let you all just take this.
Bot, go.
Okay, so been playing a lot of Malagos Druid. That is the first place my brain went to with this card. Seems very good with this card, and Nikolai's pointed out that you could make a version of the Malagos Druid deck with the 3 mana prince, and you can just play out Malagos, next turn, play Floop, copy it with the 3 mana prince, and coin, or either coin or innervate or the new Druid project out a swipe and double Moonfire, and that's a lot of damage and kills your opponent. The other things I've heard about this card is, which I think is even potentially more powerful, is playing it with Togwaggle, because you can play Togwaggle, and then if they switch decks back, you can play Floop, Togwaggle, and then coin or innervate out Azalina and copy their hand. And so that also seems very powerful. There's so many applications for this card. It's crazy. It's one of the cards that I think kind of embodies how I feel about this set, which is there are a lot of scary cards, and I'm excited about scary cards, but also somewhat worried. I would rather them make a bunch of scary cards that look like they're potentially game-breaking or powerful, and then we find out if they actually are or not, and then they can nerf or whatever if they need to. But this is one of those cards, and I'm excited to play with it and see what people come up with outside of just really good Malagos decks being better.
So, if you went back in time a year, and you were talking to someone about Hearthstone, and they asked what you're most scared of, and you said the Floop Togwaggle meta, what language would they think you were speaking?
Gibberish.
Because
also, I'm extremely afraid of playing a Togwaggle mirror. That I have no idea how that works.
Wait, can we call it Floopwaggle? Can we call it that?
Okay. I guess.
I kind of want to. Anyway, I like this name a lot. I really enjoy this name, and so I love the design because it's cool and interesting, but Druid usually uses cool and interesting for evil and not for good. And I've gone on this discussion before where if we're Magic, which we're not, Druid would be the color blue, in that it was way too powerful by the mechanics it was given when the game was made, and we haven't made a ton of progress away from that because Choose One is secretly super powerful, not even that secretly. And Druid's mechanics are mana ramp and card draw. And Choose One.
I think it's actually would be the new green.
But good?
It's ramp and card draw. That's what green does now, apparently, is ramp and card draw and big powerful minions.
Yes, but not to get... I don't want to talk about Magic. Magic is fine. I like that game. It's fine, but we're not here to talk about Magic. The point here is Druid has an embarrassment of riches when it comes to not just cards, but class identity. And Floop is doing something that's interesting and fun, and yet the most immediate application is to use it in a currently good combo deck to make the combo deck significantly harder to disrupt. It's a little scary. I don't think the sky is falling. I am a little worried, but I don't think the sky is falling, and again, we have to wait for the context. But the Togwaggle interaction is very strong, the Malagos interaction is very strong, and the only time this card I think is going to be used is probably when you're getting a Battle Cry and a really significantly costed minion for 4 mana, because otherwise you're not ever copying stats with this. It's a 3/4. It's locked at 3/4. So it has to be a mana reduction on a minion that you play the following turn, and it sticks over multiple turns. I don't know if this card will ever be used for good. I know it will be used for evil, but I wonder if this is the next Carnivorous Cube, where anytime you see it, it means that someone is doing something bad. Because there's never been a cube that's been used...
Cube.
What?
It's also pretty good with Carnivorous Cube.
It is, because you can use it as a cube, and then it's just like a Jello party. There's floop and goo and cubes, and it's a lot of bouncy green stuff. But the point here is, I like the design, but I don't know if we'll ever see it used in a low threatening fashion. It'll always be an enabler of something that is meant to kill you right away, and that's a little scary. I'm not ready to say the sky is falling, but I wish that I liked this design less, because I really do like this design, but I think it probably can't be good for the game, given what Druid typically does with cards like this.
So all I'm going to say on this is This one looks spooky. Looks real spooky, not gonna lie. But I also think Blizzard knows what they're doing. And I think they're learning from their mistakes in card design, and I also think they're pushing boundaries. So I don't think they would release like an obviously super broken card after like the latest round of nerfs we had. But I also think this card looks real strong and ready to play with it and against it. And I hope I'm not wrong.
Yeah, well, and I will say that this card doesn't stop Druid's biggest weakness, which is early game. This card's really bad in the early game, and that means that Druid's weakness doesn't get better here, which is something they did learn from. They didn't print another 6 mana, gain 30 health in butt, which was 5 mana when it was printed. God, do you guys remember they printed Spreading Plague at 5 mana?
Yeah, I remember complaining about that and telling that and being told, "Oh, don't complain about it. It's not that bad." And yeah, it was bad. It was not fun to play against.
Yeah,
Still
see,
isn't fun to play against. But
I didn't think that card was very good because I was playing the decks against that card, and then whenever I was playing the decks that weren't good against that card, so, okay. All right. Anyways, we can reminisce over busted cards, but we could also talk about Whizbang the Wonderful. And he is a 4-mana legendary neutral minion. He's a 4/5, so he's just a Chillwind Yeti with he says you start the game with one of Whizbang's wonderful decks. And what that is you pick Whizbang and you're done talking about, or you're done making your deck. And then whenever you start a game, you are given one of 18 random deck recipes. And that's just awesome. I think this is a really cool card for people who don't have a big collection or people who are just trying to get in the game. You can open Whizbang and just have 18 decks essentially that you just get to play. You don't get to choose them, but you get to play with more cards than you might have. And I think that's great for a new player experience. What do y'all think?
I
Go
will
ahead,
say
Bot.
very quickly. I know Hat has more to say about this, but I will say quickly that this feels like a card that experienced players think that new players want more, and that might not be the case, but I hope it is the case and they like this card, and that people keep talking about new players crafting this card, but remember that the borrow feature thing exists for if you want to play with friends, and this seems like a great card for one of two people to have, and then being able to use the borrow decks feature to play this deck against itself a lot if you were trying to get somebody new into it and don't want to convince them to spend 1600 dust on this card. And that's all I had about it.
So it looks really fun. I don't know who wants it, but I know it looks fun. The stats don't actually matter because the card does not end up in your deck. It's a 4-mana 4/5 placeholder. The tournament logistics are the only thing that I want to make sure that we cover because it is a 10th class. It changes your hero portrait in the class selection screen. So if you're looking at your opponent's deck list, it looks like Whizbang. It's not any other deck. It's one card in the deck list. And I don't know what HCT is going to do about this because it's 10th class. And it could be anything. It could be a rogue. It could be a warlock. It could be a druid. It could be anything. Now, I don't think the deck recipes are going to tear up the tournament scene. But it's a 10th class. So I would not be surprised if HCT bans it.
I would also not be surprised, but I would also be 100% okay with them not banning it and letting people bring it, because if they want to bring it to a tournament, I will play against it 100%. I do not care about playing against the recipe decks. They are worse enough that it doesn't matter the fact that it's random and I don't necessarily know what they're playing right away. Yeah, I'm okay with them not banning it, but I could see them banning it.
So what you say is that you would be okay playing against it. Speaking of that, the next card, Appa.
So we're gonna group the next 3 cards together. This one is Dendrologist. It's a 2-mana rare druid 2/3, and it says battle cry. If you can treant, discover a spell. The next one is Landscaping. It's a 3-mana common druid spell. It just says summon 2/2/2 trance. Summon 2/2/2. 2/2/2 trance. And then the third card is a 10 mana rare druid minion. It's an 8/8 with rush, and it costs 1 less for each friendly treant that died this game. And that counts living mana as well as the new treant generating cards. So I know Hat really wants to talk about these three, so it's all yours.
These are efficient cards, and it feels weird. There's a couple new cards as well that just came out today that we'll talk about. There's one that is a 2-mana spells that I think gives your treants +1/+3 in rush until end of turn. I'll confirm that while we're talking here, but there's some stuff going on here. 3 mana get 4/4 in stats is not bad. 2 mana, 2/3 and discover a spell seems pretty well costed. And Mulch Muncher, again, that it works together with living mana. This is probably going to be a 5 mana 8/8 with rush at some point in your game. That's a good card and a big card, and what Token Druid always had trouble with was big minions. So I don't know if this is going to make a new Token Druid or if it's going to make a Tree Druid or something, but it feels like there's something here. And I see Mulch Muncher as the payoff here. It's a pretty good payoff, especially if you're able to cast it for less than 5. It's a really powerful card.
One of the initial Token Druid decks played 2 living manas in it and 2 solo forests, and I think that's all you need to make this card playable. The other 2, I'm not super excited about because I don't necessarily see a deck that they go in just off the top of my head and need a lot more context for them, but you could just play an old version of Token Druid and maybe update it with a couple Mulch Munchers, and I think it increases the power level by a lot. So I think it has potential for sure. I don't know if it's better than the current Token Druid. I know it fell out of favor, but if there's nothing to punish living mana, then I really did like that old version.
Ignore the other card I was talking about. It was fake.
Okay, ignoring that. So moving on.
Yep.
Okay, so the next card is a 1 mana paladin. And it says whenever one of your minions is attacked, give it Divine Shield. It's fairly simple design, and secrets are usually not really that flashy, at least for paladin. But I think this has reasonable implications in standard because Murloc Paladin is kind of just playing second fiddle to Odd Paladin right now. I mean, it has its implications on ladder. It's still a very strong deck. It has really strong curves. It has a fine mid game. There's reasons to play it, and this just makes the deck better, at least as it is right now. It depends on the context of the format, but sorry, I was reading out. Just being able to discover this off of Hydrologist and forcing your opponent to play around more things is, it's just better than not having it. So it just makes Murloc Paladin better, right? So I think this card's really cool, and I'm excited for it. I think having more options with Hydrologist is sweet, and I would like to see more flavors of Paladin rise to prominence again, as opposed to queuing up into a Paladin and pretty much knowing for a fact that it's going to be Odd Paladin. So I hope this kind of helps diversity a little bit.
Card seems pretty solid to me. Seems somewhat similar. I guess it's somewhat similar to Noble Sacrifice, but I think probably a little bit more powerful than that, potentially.
Yeah, it's a Noble Sacrifice that can eat a bigger minion, if that makes sense. Because if they try and trade in with a 5/4 into a Murloc that got buffed with +3 attack or something, and then it hits Divine Shield instead of just taking 2, it just kills it outright. Or say if your opponent reads that it's Noble Sacrifice and daggers in first into a minion with taunt or something, and then it gets Divine Shield, and they kind of get blown out a little bit there. It just has cool implications, and I like more options.
It doesn't trigger on attacking face. It's a big deal. Because Noble Sac does.
Yeah, that is important. But that's why I use like the taunt as the example. But anyways, more options, cool. I like it. It's not like powerful by itself in a vacuum. I don't think you're just putting this into a deck.
Whoa,
But
you're the
I think
most
the
heavy
real
metal
application is to
thing
use
I've ever
hydrologist,
seen.
at least for right now. The next card we have is called Kangor's Endless Army. I think that's how you pronounce it. It is a 7-mana legendary paladin spell. It says resurrect 3 friendly mechs. They keep any magnetic upgrades.
Yeah.
I mean,
so
this card seems powerful. I know
Yeah.
Botticus wanted to talk about this.
So this is one of those cards where I look at it, and if you look at what we currently know about the set and what's currently in standard, I don't think it quite gets there, but it's a card that does not require a lot to become a very powerful card and potentially just game ending when you play it. So this is a card that has not gotten a lot of talk, but definitely you want to watch out for depending on what mechs get previewed in the next couple days. It's that effect is quite powerful if you can build your deck in a way in which you don't have any of the really cheap mechs and you just have these really powerful ones that you play this card and just get a gigantic board that can win the game on the spot. So I don't necessarily expect it to do anything yet, but like I said, you just have to see what comes out.
I mean, if we're talking about mid-range paladin, this is a mid-range card that just it's the smallest N'Zoth ever, but you get to keep the buffs, and if you ever put Ziliax in anything, you are really happy about playing this card. Because even if you put it onto a frame bot, an upgradable frame bot, that's what, a 4/7 with Divine Shield, Rush, Taunt, and Lifesteal, and you get that back along with 2 other mechs, you're pretty happy. So I think there's something to it. This is kind of like the Linessa of mechs, because you get the body of the mechs instead of the 1/1. So
yeah, this reminds me of a cross between the Spellstone. That's kind of what I'm here as far as things I can relate it to. But I mean, it's a brand new thing, and it depends on the context of what's revealed. But it's definitely something to keep your eye on, I think. So the next 2 cards we're also going to group together. The first one is called Dead Ringer. It is a 2-mana common priest minion. It is a 2/1 with Death Rattle. Draw a Death Rattle minion from your deck. And the next one is called Reckless Experimenter. It's a 5-mana priest minion. It's an epic. It's a 4/6. And it says Death Rattle minions you play cost 3 less, but they die at the end of the turn. So y'all take it away with this one. The only thing I really have to say is I think Reckless Experimenter obviously looks strong with Carnivorous Cube, because you kind of get the cube popped immediately and get to abuse things that way. But other than that, I don't know. I'm not creative. Just y'all take it away.
Yeah, cost reduction is scary on cards, even if there's a quote-unquote drawback. I think I forgot what Wicked posted. It was something involving playing this and then playing another, playing a 6-mana. Oh, playing the Coffin Crasher and then cubing it in the same turn just seems gross. Especially if you have an obsidian statue in hand. But the cost reduction's scary. This card is potentially scary, but hopefully, I think it's just cool. I think it'll lead to some really cool turns. So I'm excited to see what people do to try to break this card.
yeah, it's really cool. Someone smarter than me is going to do something with it, which is basically the tune of all the priest cards of the set. But I got no idea. I like Dead Ringer though. It's just Loot Hoarder, except it does more of what you want to do in a deck where you would play it.
Yeah, it's like a loot hoarder that you get to choose kind of how you build your deck. Like, kind of get to choose what you draw, which I mean, pretty powerful.
And doesn't overdraw you if you're going towards fatigue in those Quest Priest games. That was a key thing that Kibler pointed out, is if you resurrect this with Twilight's Call and stuff and you are going towards fatigue, then it's not going to overdraw you like a Loot Hoarder or something would, putting you deeper into fatigue.
Want to talk about the
so,
cute card? Can we talk about the cute card?
Yes. So the next one is called Faith. It is a 1-mana new, a lowly 1/1, has Battle Cry. Give a give a friendly mech +1/+1. And I know Hat has something to say.
It's adorable. That's it.
Yeah, it is, and I think this wins the Snow Flipper Penguin Award for the set. And that's just the award for being the cutest thing spoiled so far.
Well, but we don't
that's
know what's
about all
coming
there is
next.
to
We don't
it.
know what's coming next. I mean, maybe the card's not terrible if you can play it, I guess. But like, I probably would never play this. But it's so cute. It's a little light bulb.
I mean, if you're looking to magnetize stuff in a deck with a lot of mechs, I think this card probably makes the cut a lot of the time. It's 2/2 worth of stats for 1 mana, or just a really cheap thing to magnetize onto. So I don't know. It just really depends on if mech decks are going to be a thing, I think. Cheap, low to the ground mech decks, obviously different than the Khadgar's army decks.
Yeah, I feel like that's kind of the theme of most of what we're seeing so far. Cool. Let's wait. Can't ever really make up our minds much on power levels of cards because a lot of them require so much synergy, I think, to be strong enough to see play in most competitive environments that we've seen so far. But it's just context is so important for all, like most of these cards that we're seeing. But what I don't think is too important is context for this next card, which is Omega Agent. It's a 5-mana Warlock minion. It's an epic. It's a 4/5, and it says Battlecry. If you have 10 mana crystals, summon 2 copies of this minion. And I know Hat wanted to clarify that Omega cards don't cost 10, but they just check how many mana crystals you have. So if you have 10 mana crystals, it's not going to cost 10 for the upgrade. It's just going to be that base cost of 5, and that's going to copy it twice. So you're going to get 3 for the cost of 5, which seems powerful. But the reason I say that I don't think context really matters too much with these Omega cards is that for a card like this that has a really strong upside in the late game, is the worst case scenario has to be pretty decent on its own. And a 5-mana 4/5 just by itself is fairly unexciting. Like Despicable Dreadlord, I think honestly barely makes the cut in the decks that it's running, and I only think it's running Zoo because I mean your odd paladin matchup's kind of not great unless you hit the Dreadlord. So I mean a 5-mana 4/5 again, it's not very exciting, but best case scenario, 10 mana crystals, 5 mana for 3 4/5s obviously seems really good, but you have to think about those worst case or just like average case scenarios where it's just a 4/5 for 5.
Yeah, is this better than Void Lord? At 10 mana, it's close. Whereas Void Lord is a demon that does a lot of stuff and comes back with cooldown and is really, really good. So I don't see a spot for this yet.
Yeah, I think the
maybe
fact
there's
that
something.
that it lacks a demon tag is definitely a hit against it. I think if it had a demon, it'd probably appear a lot stronger just because Gul'dan is such a powerful card. But this is my take on the card. What do you think, Hat?
I think that Lab Recruiter is really great, and I want to talk about it.
All right, let's talk about Lab
So,
Recruiter.
Lab Recruiter, Rogue, Common, 2 mana 3/2, Battlecry, shuffle 3 copies of a friendly minion into your deck. My friend, do you have enough Cold Light Oracles? I don't think you do. And if you're in Wild, you're going to recruit this guy right into your lab, and he's going to recruit a little more fishies right back into your deck. You have your Gang Ups, you have your Lab Recruiters, but in Standard, it's still a good deal for the mana cost. It's still 2 mana for 5 stats. And there's a lot of things you want to put back in your deck. Maybe it's a Faldori Strider. Maybe it's, I don't know, the new Pogo dude, the Pogo Hopper. There are a lot of cards that I think you want to have options to put back in your deck, or play it on 2, into 3/2, and that's fine. So, I don't know if this is probably not going to go into Miracle Rogue, but it might help give more minion depth, because what Miracle Rogue does, it plays all of its cards out pretty quickly, and then it runs out of stuff to do. And if you play this on a Faldori Strider, that is 12 more 4/4s over the course of the game. Just by doing that once. It's a lot of 4/4s. I don't know if this will go in Miracle. I don't know if this will spawn a new archetype. I do expect this to see play in Wild, because it's a minion. You can play it on curve, and you can still use it with your Cold Light Oracles or whatever else you want to shuffle back in your deck. It seems like a pretty nice, complete package of efficiency and an effect that has the opportunity to be powerful.
I would happily add a 3/2 body to gang up if it meant I couldn't target my opponent's minions. That just seems really good. Yeah, you can't use it with prep, but you can shadow step this card. This card is I like this card a lot. I think its potential is quite high. We'll see what ends up happening. Maybe even play it in a Quest Rogue deck. Maybe not, but it's another option.
So I've seen this compared to Gang Up, and I think they're similar, but I don't think enough people are talking about the fact that this is a Gang Up that you can draw with Elven Minstrel, which is really important because Elven Minstrel's real strong in Rogue.
And also shuffling more minions into your deck makes Minstrel better too.
Yeah, so I think this card really well. Potential. I don't think it will slot into a deck immediately, but I think it's definitely powerful enough to at least get some have some experimentation.
I was trying to think of a deck where you could really abuse this, if there was anything where you get a certain correct number of cards in hand, like if you draw the correct part of your deck and you can just prep a Myra's Unstable and burn the rest of your deck just so you can use this card and start shuffling very specific cards into your deck so that you draw them in the early game, or maybe you play Myra's on 9 and then play Lich King in this on 10. I don't know if there's another 8-drop, but there's just a few different weird applications you could use Myra for this. I'm excited to see what ends up happening with this. There's a lot of different directions you could take it.
Togwaggle.
Ugh.
Shuffle Togwaggles back in.
Hat is super about these Togwaggle combos.
Note to people listening, I am not serious. Please do not do that. All right, let's move
Unless
on.
you're Rod Johnston, and then
we're starting to run a little late, so let's move along. We have Weaponized Pinata, which is fantastic card name. It is a 4-mana epic neutral minion. It's a 4/3 with Death Rattle. Add a random legendary minion to your hand.
Yes, that is what that card does.
Yep.
All right.
Play it in Quest Priest, maybe, I guess.
I like
of all the
silence
cards that
yes.
we've talked about so far this show, this is the most recent.
All right. So the next card is called Demonic Project, and if you remember, projects are the cards that give both players something. And this is a 2-mana common warlock spell. Each player transforms a random minion in their hand into a demon.
So Blister Guy talked about this card a little bit on his podcast and wasn't super high on it. I'm not really high on it, but I think that if Floop decks become extremely popular and a really large part of the metagame, and you might have and Shudderwalk Shaman could get a bit of hate from this, I think this is a acceptable card to run, especially in even Warlock, where in the later parts of the game you end up with these kind of random 2-mana minions that maybe aren't as good later in the game, and you can just switch them out for better demons and likely make your stuff better than some of your 2-mana stuff. So I don't know that this necessarily sees play right away, but given the correct metagame, it's a powerful effect. I'm glad to see something like this because it is hopefully a valve to keep Floop decks and Shudderwalk from being too overly powerful. But I wish there was an effect like this in the neutral class, just so that other decks wouldn't have to worry so much about stuff like that.
I can't get over that we're talking about Floop decks. Every time you say that, I just snicker.
All right. So the next card is Unexpected Results. It's a 4-mana epic mage spell. Summon 2 random 2-cost minions.
So something about this card keeps capturing my attention because I want to make sure I'm clear. it says improved by spell damage. And that means the thing that gets increased by spell damage is the cost of the minions. So spell damage +1, you get 4 mana, get 2 3-drops. 4 mana +2, you get 2 4-drops. And it's not necessarily that easy to get early spell damage, but 4 mana for 2 2-drops is a fine deal. Approximately 2 and 2 is 4. Usually. And spell damage, just pumping it once, you're coming out pretty far ahead on this deal. And it's a minion-based card that's also a spell, which Mage cares about sometimes. I don't know. I don't have an answer for you for where it goes or what deck it is in. But I do just get the feeling that this deal is going to be worth taking fairly often. And I am a person that knows a thing or two about deals. I'm just saying. I don't know. There's something about this card that I think we're going to see that is going to see play, and if you can pump it just once and you can play it on turn 4, I think you're in a really good situation. I don't know how often that'll happen, but there is that new mage card that gives the next spell you play spell damage +2. If you're on the coin, or you have a Sorcerer's Apprentice that sticks, and on turn 5 you play this and you get 2 4-drops, that's going to feel pretty powerful, I think. I don't know.
Yeah, I kind of agree with everything you said. I think that Tempo Mage, or Aggro Mage, or Burn Mage, or whatever you call it, the Mana Worm decks that top out of Alanef, they're kind of lacking a solid mid game. Like we played Life Drinkers in the past, played Amani Berserkers, we played a bunch of just random stuff.
Vex
just
Crows.
as filler.
Yeah,
That-
this makes
that-
Vexcrow look so bad.
Yeah, like just curving an early start into this is probably fine, even if it's not upgraded. I mean, you can play Thalnos in the deck to get some synergy there, but there's some stuff you can do with it. I think it looks reasonably strong. People compare it to Called Arms. That's not even kind of the same thing, but there are parallels there, but I wouldn't compare it to Called Arms.
I mean, like a McDonald's burger and a filet mignon are made of the same meat, but that doesn't mean that you should compare them.
Yeah, but
This
I
is-
think
this
we
is the
should take
burger.
a second. Yeah, I think we should take a second to talk about Doctor Boom Mad Genius, because this is one of the weirder cards that we've seen, and that's saying something because we've seen some weird cards so far. So y'all talk about this.
All right, so Dr. Boom Mad Genius is a 7-mana legendary warrior hero card that for the first time ever gains you a different amount of armor. It gains you 7 armor this time. And the battle cry says for the rest of the game, your mechs have rush. And then there is 5 rotating hero powers. So you will, every turn you will get a new hero power of these 5 and it will never repeat. The different hero powers are summon 3 1/1 microbots, which are mech minions. So they'll have rush, deal 3 damage, gain 7 armor, or deal 1 damage to all enemies, or discover a mech. And I wasn't super excited about this card when I first saw it. I guess when I'm looking at the abilities, it definitely lends itself to a bit more of a controlling warrior. All of the abilities are very powerful, but it felt like the 7 armor ability to me just didn't feel like it fit with the rest of it, because I guess I was thinking of it as a mid-range shell. But obviously 2 mana for 7 armor is really good. But today they actually previewed a new card that I would like to talk about with this one, even though they don't necessarily go together, but it's called Omega Assembly. It's a warrior spell, 1 mana spell that says discover a mech, but if you have 10 mana, you keep all 3 of the mechs instead of just the 1. And these 2 cards together seem like they fit really well, and I think we're going to have to see some bigger mechs be previewed, because right now they're previewing a lot of really small mechs, which is not necessarily doesn't necessarily go well with Dr. Boom, but we'll kind of see. It definitely has a lot of potential. I know a lot of people are talking about this. A lot of people are complaining about the randomness of it, but overall, I think it's a solid card. I'm not as excited about this as, say, Hagatha, but I don't think I was super excited about Hagatha, so maybe this will end up being a really fun card to play.
All right, well, I don't really have anything to add there. I pretty much nailed it as far as where my opinions are too. The next card is Omega Medic. That was a tongue twister. Omega Medic. There we go. It's a priest, 3 mana, 3/4, battle cry. If you have 10 mana crystals, restore 10 health to your hero. Hat.
Spider Tank's good enough. Don't think it isn't. Cabal Talon Priest saw play. And it's powerful effect, better effect than this card, but still a Spider Tank. Nightmare Amalgam is still seeing a lot of play. It's going to get better with all the mechs, and it's good enough with Murlocs right now, but don't underestimate 3 mana 3/4 with something a little extra. I don't know how good the effect is, but don't underestimate it.
Yeah, the effect by itself isn't like powerful enough, I think, to warrant play most of the time, especially with how the meta is right now. It's not really like burn focused or like damage focused. It seems like it's a lot about late game value and comboing and trying to go over the top. And I don't think kind of nickel and diming your health is where people are at most of the time. This reminds me, draws a really similar parallel to Twilight Darkmender, which is the 5 mana 6/5 Cthulhu card. And if you're Cthulhu at 10 attack, you restore 10 to your hero. It's obviously a little different because Cthulhu decks are much different. You had to build your deck around them, and then it was also more expensive. But that effect wasn't powerful enough in the past. Maybe it will be now, or maybe the 3 mana 3/4 body is enough to push, like with the effect added on, is enough to push this card into the meta. So those are my thoughts. Anything else?
Yeah, I wouldn't underestimate gaining 10 health. 10 health is a lot of health, and sometimes you're getting chipped down, and sometimes you're Shadow Reaper Anduin, and you can't heal yourself anymore. So 10 health is a lot of health.
Yeah, so the next card is Astromancer. It is a mage epic. It's a 7 mana 5/5. Summon a random minion with cost equal to your hand size.
The first deck that came to mind that I've mentioned quite a few times is Kibler's Elemental deck. That deck is all about playing cards that continually maintain your hand size. And so a card like this obviously reminds a lot of people of Spiteful Summoner, which in 99% of all cases, you cannot get a 10 mana minion with this card, but still, getting 2 minions for the price of 7, or for 7 mana that are potentially very big if you can keep your hand size high with cards like Book of Specters and just cards that keep replacing themselves. This has potential, I think, in the mage deck.
Bot got 99 minions, but a 10 drop ain't one.
Yeah, so the way that you can get a 10 mana minion is if you play the legendary mage spell, the legendary mage minion, and then this is the card that you drew for the turn. So you play that one, you go to 10 cards, and then you get a 10.
Yes.
10 drop.
Or
that was the only way I could think about it.
You need to get Hagatha somehow. If you get Hagatha, you can make a 10 drop. I'm sure there's a way.
You get or you're playing Hagatha, and then you get this card.
Yes. This is a useful use of the show's time. Why don't we go on to the next card?
So I thought you were going to take it from there, but the next card is Emissary. It's a mage, 2 mana 2/1 element battle cry. Your next spell this turn, spell damage +2. I think this card's fairly straightforward in design and could have applications in Tempo Mage, and maybe even Big Spell Mage for making your AoEs a little stronger. But that's all I really have for this one.
Arcane Missiles dealing 5 seems pretty good, and having cheap spells in a deck that's trying to play Alaneth and other card draw stuff seems like this card has a lot of potential. I'm pretty excited. Tempo Mage was already playing some stinkers, and I think this could slot in pretty nicely.
In Tempo Mage? Oh, yeah. I mean, it's better than Shimmering Tempest, right?
Well, it wasn't playing that card. I'm talking more like Life Drinker is not necessarily a card you want to be playing in Tempo Mage, but you play it because it deals damage to their face. And a lot of times this helps deal damage to their face, but is probably just an overall better card for most of the time.
Yeah, I mean, you don't necessarily want to pair it with Fireball unless you're killing a Lich King, which is fine, but it's really good with the unexpected results, especially if you have the Sorcerer Apprentice down or you have the coin, because on 5 mana, that's 2 4/4s, or 2 4-drops, rather.
You get it off of Primordial Glyph, right?
Yes. Oh, man, that would be gross. Turn 2 Primordial Glyph, turn 3, this coin unexpected results would be, ugh, wow. We've got Cloning Device coming up next. That's a priest spell, 2 mana, discover a copy of a minion in your opponent's deck. Kind of interesting. It fits within the priest theme. Anyone have any comments?
I don't see it seeing play, but I mean, it's a powerful effect, but the priest has a lot of really good cards, so I don't know where this fits. If there's maybe a weapon deck where you're just trying to play a lot of spells, but then this gets a minion, which is not a spell, so probably not.
It seems really unreliable, and priest, it doesn't even generate you a card. It just changes itself into a card that you can't control, so that's typically not an effect that's worth doing without gaining some kind of advantage on the deal. Moving on.
Seems like a good card to get from a random effect, or a decent card to get from a random effect.
Sure, if you want to get some random in your random, we got some random for you off of Lyra. But let's talk about a card that I think is actually exciting here. Giggling Inventor. It's a 5-mana 2/1 neutral rare. And Battlecry, it makes 2 Annoyatrons, 2 1/2 mechs with Taunt and Divine Shield. Appa, I know you were talking about this card a lot, and it's been pretty significantly discussed. What do you think about Giggling Inventor?
So I made the mistake of seeing Fungomancer, and I thought that card was not very. But I'm not going to make the mistake of judging a card by its body. I'm going to be judging a card by its ability, and this card has a very strong ability. Annoyatrons don't seem inherently powerful, but they are fairly strong. They are really, really tricky to get through cleanly, and this buys a lot of time if you're looking for defensive tools, and if you're looking for offensive tools. While it doesn't develop the strongest bodies, it develops resilient and sticky bodies. So I think this card has applications all over the place, and I think it looks pretty powerful.
Yeah, it's just a big pain in the butt, and it's like Serenite, except it deals less damage when things trade into it, but it takes way longer to fight through. Against taller boards, if you play a 4-mana Mountain Giant, and they play this, I guess that's just 8 damage that you're not taking for 4 turns. 4 turns. It's so much annoying taunts that get in the way. Really good with Magnetic. They can attack in once, then you can graft the Annoya module on your Annoyatron for extra annoying. And it's still just 5 mana for 5 stats. It's not great against Defile, but I do think that this card just is enough stuff, especially in classes that don't normally have this level of defense, that I'd be surprised if we didn't see it running around.
Massey.
Yes. Oh God. That's
Mossy Horror.
That's
also,
yeah.
Imagine Shadow Stepping this card. That seems kind of good.
Probably not taking damage for a little while, yeah. But let's talk about, we got a Priest legendary spell here. This is a crazy card that I have trouble wrapping my head around. It's 9 mana, Xeric's Cloning Gallery, summon a 1/1 copy of each minion in your deck. What? And it's not unique minions. It's not by name. It's 1/1 copy of every minion in your deck until your board is full. I'm guessing it just takes the first 7 that it finds in your deck. I don't know how that works. I don't know if it's alphabetical. It's a lot of people have been talking about combo application with this card. What do you both think?
This is a scary card because it's either completely unplayable or completely broken. From what I can see, I don't see a situation where you're playing this card and I guess it's pretty good. It just seems like you either play this card and win the game very shortly after, or this card sees no play and it's just another legendary you don't get to play. But who knows? Like you said, somebody way smarter than me is going to figure out how to make this card really good.
I don't know. Seems sweet and big priest and what. That's about all I got.
Yeah, it works really well with the Priest Spellstone if you get value minions and then you bring them back. There are ways to combo it with double Radiant Elemental, along with stuff like with Velen, if you manage to get Mali, Velen, Radiant, and then you play a 1-mana Spirit Lash, it's an enormous health increase. Next turn you can Spellstone and kill them with stuff. There are ways to make this be a combo card, but you have to keep the minions in your deck. Hard to do, and if you don't do that, you have to find a way to play the minions and have them die on your terms as opposed to getting hexed. So, I don't know, but I agree with Botticus 100%. There's scary opportunities here. So we're gonna wait and see on that one. The next few cards, we're gonna move pretty fast. The Rogue Blight Nozzle Crawler, 4-mana 2/4. It is a mech. It is a Death Rattle. Summon a 1/1 Ooze with Poisonous and Rush. Please note, not a Battle Cry. I have talked to 4 people that said this card is great. Oh, it's a Death Rattle, which means when it dies, your opponent gets to do whatever they can to clear that 1/1. You get it at exactly the worst possible time. Do either of you think this card is anything worth discussing? Didn't think
That card
so.
would be so busted if it was a battle cry. It's just a 4-mana assassinate with a 4 body. Holy. I mean, it's a defensive rogue card. Rogues don't usually get those, so maybe, but I doubt it. It's kind of an awkward card.
Appa's just waiting. Okay, moving on. We've got ourselves, oh man, Star Aligner. 7 mana, 7/7, Battle Cry. If you control 3 minions with 7 health, deal 7 damage to all enemies, and it's an epic. And I want to point out, it has to be 3 other minions because it does not count itself. So it's only really playable when, well, you know, when the... Okay.
Yeah, I didn't understand this card or the design of it until like here today, and I had seen it yesterday, and then I just felt like an idiot. I was like, oh, because it happens when the stars align. Haha.
Yeah.
Neat.
It's
And they have to have exactly 7 health. It's not 7 or more. It's not. It's
yeah. This is the
Jeez.
meme card of the expansion.
yeah.
Make no mistake. This is not designed to see play. This is a meme and a half.
it's
I can't wait for a Trollden clip with somebody losing to this card.
oh, that'll happen, but right now in general play it is worse than War Golem because War Golem's a mech. And that's the world we live in here. So just be aware, they printed a card that somehow made War Golem look better, and that's the biggest accomplishment I expect this card to have outside of Trollden appearances. Moving on, Cybertech Chip. 2 mana, Hunter Spell, rare, give your minions Death Rattle, add a random mech to your hand. Botticus, have you met our Lord and Savior, Buzzard Unleash the Robots?
I remember playing that. That was super good. Well, the original Buzzard Unleash. I haven't played this. It's obviously way different, but 2 mana is also way different than 3 mana, which I guess Infest was a card that really didn't see anything. So drawing cards from your deck versus getting random mechs is different, but I don't ever sleep on cards that generate a ton of resources, and the Unleash combo with this, it has potential. I wouldn't just completely ignore it. And Spell Hunter is a deck that you could play a card like this in and just follow up a Spellstone with Unleash plus this. Maybe there's something there. Maybe not. We'll kind of see.
Maybe. It's I have doubts as to whether or not this will see play where Infest didn't. Even with the 2 mana less, mechs are going to be worse than Beast and Hunter on average. I think there might be a world where you want to play some kind of value Hunter where you're drawing a bunch of random cards because you just want bodies, but I don't know. Right now we have a lot of synergy-heavy Hunter decks, and this card has synergy with absolutely none of them, so Magnetic's got to be really, really good in Hunter for this to be relevant. But let's talk about, well, you remember who I picked for the champion of HD Summer was Bunny Hopper, and I'm not saying he got to make a card, but I'm saying we're going to talk about a Rogue 2-drop named Pogo Hopper. It's a 2 mana 1/1 rare. Gain +2/+2 for each other Pogo Hopper you played this game. You can Lab Recruit this. You can Shadow Step this. You can Zola this. You can Sonya this. You can eat this on a train. You can eat this with the brain. I'm quoting Green Eggs and Ham. I don't know. There's so many ways for Pogo Hopper to just be a little bigger. And when it's a 2 mana 3/3, that's a good deal. 2 mana 5/5, that's a great deal. Now you're investing cards to get that, but if you get to the point where you get to rebuy the Pogo Hopper enough, I think there's something there. And I don't know what it is. What do you all think about this little bunny?
I don't really know how to evaluate this card. Like, my initial reaction, kind of like Bite Week. Same thing at all. I don't know, because, I mean, I haven't really seen it, so probably have to either play with it or see what people make with it, because literally everybody else is way better at making rogue decks than I am. So I'm gonna wait to see what other people come up with.
It's a complicated rogue card, so it's probably pretty good. Because complicated rogue cards that require weird stuff to happen usually end up happening and making it good. So
Yeah, remember those like last 5 rogue legendaries that all looked weird and unplayable and turned out to be good, except for Lillian Voss? Yeah.
you still hit Legend with Lillian Voss. I've seen it.
It was
It's
the
just not-
first season the card was legal, and I got UI with it twice. Let's blame UI and not Lillian Voss. I mean, I appreciate what she did for me there, but that card is, I'm not going to dust it, but I'm not going to play it. Anyways, let's talk about, so Omega Assembly, Bot, you touched on this earlier. We'll go over it again. It's the 1-mana warrior spell. It's a rare. Discover a mech, but if you have 10 mana crystals, you keep all 3 cards. Now remember, they have to be warrior mechs or neutral mechs, but 1 mana and keep 3 cards late game is a lot of value. You were talking about this with Dr. Boom, right?
Yeah, it just seems like they go together really well because giving... I couldn't envision a warrior deck where you actively wanted to have a bunch of mechs in it, so having 2 of these in your deck that generates 3 mechs for you after you already have the rush mechanic on all of them makes them all extremely or much more powerful. My biggest issue is that there are a lot of really small mechs, so giving rush to small minions when you're at 10 mana is not very exciting, so we're going to have to kind of see what other mechs go and see where the balance is on the line of the average mech you're going to get from a card like this, because we're just getting a 1/5, a 1/1, and another small one, then that's not very exciting.
Yeah, I could see that. It's still random, but still 3 random cards for 1 mana is a pretty good deal. Appa, anything to add?
Not really.
Want to talk about some goop?
Yeah, let's talk about some gloop.
Yes, this is a gloop sprayer. No goop, just gloop. This is gloop sprayer, a druid 8 mana 4/4 common. Battle cry, summon a copy of each adjacent minion. What? Exactly.
Seems like a win more card to me.
I think.
Hey, I'm already crushing this game. Let's copy these other 2 awesome cards and really crush this game.
I think Nikolai has called it the win-morest card ever in our Discord today. It's an 8 mana 4/4. If you have an empty board, is the worst possible thing to draw when you could have anything else in your deck. If you have 2 great minions, you have to be at the point where copying them would win you the game, where not copying them wouldn't. And I'm having a lot of difficulty thinking where if only I draw my 8 mana combo piece after I play these 2 minions, then I win, and otherwise I don't. I'm not going to say you should play a different deck, but I'm going to say that I don't have a way to finish that sentence.
Yeah, so let's see. Let's play Malagos. It dies, and then next turn we'll play Floop and copy it, and then attack with our Twig that only has 1 charge left, and then copy both Malagoses because we really needed to overkill him. Like, I don't know what this...
Do not tempt me with Floop Gloop Goose. Floop Gloop Goose? Is that like a game you played in the playground when you were a kid? All right, we're getting off the rails. Let's keep going.
Malagloop?
Yes. Gloopagos. Gloopagoose. It's moving on. We've got some Crystology. And Crystology, 2 mana, Paladin spell. And this is a 2 mana spell that says, draw 2 1-attack minions from your deck. I actually think this is really, really good. You can either you can stuff your deck with targets. Or you can just have 2 Stone Hills. And then 2 mana, draw 2 Stone Hills. Or you can put some Tar Creepers in. Or you can have it draw Meat Wagons or Lanessa. And you can guarantee that you're drawing those cards. And there are just so many different ways to build it that you can get exactly what you want, which is probably defensive. There aren't too many minions with the base 1 attack that become offensive that quickly, though I'm sure there's something in there that I'm forgetting. But 2 mana, draw 2 specific cards that you put in your deck. That kind of tutoring ability is powerful. It doesn't cheat mana, but it is 2 mana and gain 2 cards that you didn't have before even if you just use this to get 2 of the Righteous Defenders, the 1/1 taunts for 1, it's really efficient in terms of value. I don't know. What do y'all think?
Yeah, I think it's definitely powerful. Wicked Good posted up, and I agree with this sentiment that 1 attack is far. Like you said, you can get Stonehills, you can get Tark Reapers. I mean, you could even get Grimscale Oracles, Murloc Tidecallers. I mean, there's just a ton of different applications, and it seems like a really, really solid value card. So I like it. I think it looks pretty strong. I think it's going to be a question of whether or not there's a shell or a place in the metagame for a Paladin deck that wants this.
Yeah. And we've got 2 more cards, including a Hunter Legendary that I think proves that Blizzard is back to making Hunter Legendaries more weird than maybe overtly powerful, because we've seen some good ones with Rocktalar and Katharina and Houndmaster Shaw. This is a little different. This is a Boommaster Flark. It's a 7-mana 5/5 Legendary. Battlecry summon 4 0/2 Goblin Bombs, and they're 0/2s that when they die, they deal 2 damage to your opponent.
Play this, play Void Ripper, deal 8 to your opponent's face. That's what I got.
Boy, I sure enjoy Strictly Worse Pyroblast. Take 2 cards.
Well, it's not strictly worse because you get a 3/3 and a 5/5 hat.
It's right. My bad.
Let's not play the strictly worst game, right? I gotta go to bed. I got work.
What, you don't want to play Semantics? All right. Somebody tell me where this card has an application. I'm having difficulty.
This card has an application in aggressively slanted. Swamp King Dread wasn't good enough there because you played it, got killed, did nothing for you. This one, you can play it on a board where you're pressuring them, and it just makes things awkward for them, because a lot of times what decks will do against Hunter when they're getting pressured down with medium-sized minions in the mid-game is AoE that board away. And if you play this, you say your AoEs are no longer very good for you. Unless you get Psychic Scream, then you're real sad. But you play this, and then the AoEs are immediately far more awkward for your opponent. And Botticus was saying that it has applications of Void Ripper, and I mean, you might even just want to play Void Ripper in your 100 decks right now anyways, because Spreading Plague is so good. But I think this, I'm not saying it'll be played, but I think where this could see some application is you're curbing out, and maybe you've stuck a high main plus another minion that's lived, and then you play this, and then your board is immediately a minefield for your opponent to navigate, and it gets pretty tricky from that point, I think. Not sure how playable or how decent it'll be, but I think that's where we'll see it, if anything.
Okay, so in Wild, you play this, and then next turn, you go Feign Death, and then Void Ripper, and then it's 24 damage.
Yeah, then you're really doing it.
Yeah.
Then you're the Boommaster. Yeah, I'm sure there's...
Boommaster Blaster.
Oh, man.
That could be the name of the deck.
It's like Prophet Velen, except somehow narrower. And here we are. The last card we're going to talk about tonight is Eternium Rover. It's a warrior, 1-mana, 1/3 common mech. When this minion takes damage, gain 2 armor. 1-mana, 1/3s have historically been good enough. Mechs in a class that likes magnetic, kind of interesting. And the effect, especially if you can hit it a couple times, it's couple free, like 4 free life would matter in a lot of games. I don't know, this feels like a pretty good deal. You have to want the early body, you have to want something to graft magnetic onto, or the 1/3 just has to be really potent in the metagame, because you can already play Dire Maul, and so this is a Dire Maul that'll gain you 4 life. It's a good deal, I just don't know if it'll see play anywhere. Any opinions?
If Warriors want mecha cards, seems fairly strong. 1-mana 1/3s have traditionally been pretty good, and this has a pretty good upside, so... if you care about armor and you care about early game mechs, then this seems like it slots in.
Yeah, I mean, and again, context will matter for everything. We haven't seen a lot of magnetic cards. You're not going to save this till turn 8 to draft on your 3/8 on top of it. But I do think that there's an opportunity there. And that is our card review section. 31 cards in slightly more than 31 minutes. But it's been a good time. And we want to say thanks. But first of all, we want to say thanks to you for listening more. And I know you're thinking, don't you have emails to read? Please, God, no more emails. The show is already quite long. Well, your prayers have been answered. We're going to start our bonus episodes next month. Discord discussions will be the name of the episodes, unless we come up with a better name. In the meantime, we reserve the right to come up with better names, where the community interactions we have with all of you on Twitter, in Discord, and other formats, we want to make sure we capture anything that really stands out to us that's worth discussing on the show as a group, having a roundtable about it, and pulling some content out of our already packed shows, as you can tell. We're going to start those. It's going to be once a month. We're targeting the third Monday of every month, but don't hold us to that right now. Just want to let you know those are coming. Please keep sending in your emails, keep sending in your tweets, keep commenting on the website, and we are going to find a way to get all of your amazing interactions with us into the podcast world at large while making a little bit extra content for you because you deserve it, and we're so appreciative for the amount of stuff you do for us and for each other. And speaking of saying thanks to Stefan L for letting us use his cover. Check him out in his channel, linked in our show notes. Big thanks to Hearthstone Top Deck and BeerBrick.com for deckless Hearthstone tournaments and YouTube for tournament VODs. Show notes for this week's episode are on our website, CoinConcede.com. You can support our show at Patreon.com/CoinConcede. Join us every week live by following us on Twitch, Twitch.tv/CoinConcede Join our community chats in our Discord, Discord.CoinConcede.com. Write into our email, CoinConcede@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter at CoinConcede. If you'd like some CC swag, head over to our shop at shop.coinconcede.com. Big thanks to our producers, Arrow and...
It's so fluffy!
Alright, Coin Concedes. Who wants to go first? How about you,
I will.
Botticus?
Mine's short. I just want to say another thanks to Bytes for coming on the show since he's not here. And I'll just remind everybody the innkeepersquest.com for this weekend. Hopefully you are hearing this before the event, but if not, make sure you go there. And if you can donate, that'd be great.
Sounds marvelous. How about you, Appa?
Coin Concede to the serious talk section in Discord for letting me vent today because it kept me completely losing my mind and been going through some really interesting stuff at work. So I vented in there for a little bit today, and it was much needed.
Yeah, Discord is life, Discord is love. And thanks from me go to Hailong for his article that he wrote based around a discussion that we had on Twitter about consistency in changing card tribes. 1600 Dust for their show this week. Really nice show after Know Your Role, and it was a really honest and very heartfelt, and I appreciated listening to it. And Chris from 1600 Dust for his new series. He started a brand new account, spent $5, and is not going to spend more than that, and is going to explore what it's like being a new player in 2018. And everyone that engaged in the various discussions over Twitter in the past week, up to and including the Backstreet Boys and In Sync. There was quite a bit of discussion about that on Twitter, and it was fun, along with other things and arguing about new cards. All right. Botticus, where can people find you?
Twitter at BotticusHS, Twitch, twitch.tv/Botticus.
Appa?
On Twitter at Appa_HS, and twitch.tv/AppaHS, and in Discord, wherever Hearthstone Discords exist. There's a good chance I'm in there.
That line sounds familiar. Well, you can also find me where Appa is, usually. Discords, Twitters, at RidiculousHat, Discord at RidiculousHat, Twitch, twitch.tv/RidiculousHat, and that's going to be our show for the week. Appa, you want to do your Keep Calm and Shamalama Ding Dong thing?
Keep Calm and Shamanon and Chaos on Ladder.
Coin Concede.
Coin Concede.
Take cold comfort in your victory. You win. I can rest now. You win. For now. Now, your victory proves nothing.
The day is yours.
I choose death.
You have triumphed. This time. This hunt